Welcome back, everyone. We're here now for the Counter-Strike Global Offensive UK Masters Grand Final. Also, if you're watching, don't forget to tweet out with hashtag Insomnia58.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what you have to say, but we also can't wait to get that grand final going on here on stage. And for that, of course, we need the teams. So let's start with the team coming from the upper bracket. They finished second in the league stage right after their opponents from FM Esports. But don't let that second place actually fool you, because they were the team to take the most rounds out of any team participating. So please give it up for Kaz Esports.
And our second team is FM Esports. They finished first at the league stage, but they had a really hard time fighting from their lower bracket. But they are here now, so please give it up for FM Esports.
All right, I see the guys are ready to go, and so are we. The finals are going to be played in a best of 5 with a 1-game advantage to the team coming from the upper bracket. And keep in mind, those two teams already faced off against each other in the playoffs, where Kaz came out on top with a 2-1, and they actually were the team to knock down FM Esports into the lower bracket. So let's see if FM Esports can get their revenge. Will they make it? Will they get the title, or will Kaz come out on top once more? And for that and all the action, we're going to hand over to our casters, Crossy and Broad. Guys, take it away.
Hi guys, and welcome to the UK Masters Final, and we've made it in the end. And to the real eye candy as well, this is Crossy and Broad here with you for these next couple of maps. So it's going to be an interesting battle between these two teams. There's been a real swing of momentum in how they've both gone through the tournament, and at times FM looked absolutely unstoppable, but then they came up against the Kaz side that were in some fine form, and just showed something a little bit extra when they did square off against each other. So this is going to be interesting, but wait, best of 5. Kaz take the one map advantage going into this thing, and it's going to be interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah, no, extremely excited to see how this one's going to be getting on, especially considering the matchups we've already seen. Obviously, I think you'll point out, Kaz and FM have already seen each other in this tournament in the upper bracket final, and Kaz ended up taking that one 2-1. Now, another thing to note is, from what we've seen of the map so far, it looks like it is going to be a tough start for FM tonight.
Yeah, I mean, potentially. Dust is a map where they have struggled at times, where we've seen them kind of get overrun by teams that just play a more aggressive style. So whether we'll see that, I mean, we know Kaz have that in their locker. They can change up that pace, and they're more than happy to go and be aggressive and face you head on. And the next map up is going to be Mirage, which Kaz were able to take off of FM in that match that did end up going 2-1 in favour of Kaz, which helped Kaz get through into the upper bracket and continue to this stage and get the easier route, arguably. But nice thing is there has been a couple of week break for these teams, which is a little different from the normal thing that you'd expect from a LAN event, where it can be more like a marathon than a sprint. But hopefully these guys are going to be nice and fresh and ready for this one, and good to kick off with a very early advantage. So we've got a very short little delay here while we wait for the final player to join for the Kaz side, and then we are going to be up and underway for this tournament. So I know we talked about it, and it's so tough to make any predictions, but Brod, have you got any sort of early feelings now we've seen the map pool?
You always ask me that, and I always tell you the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't feel too comfortable making predictions, and especially in this case. I mean, as you said, we've seen it being close this entire time. We've seen so many, not necessarily upsets, but so many moments where realistically we could have seen it swing either way. It could have been either team taking that upper bracket position, taking that lower bracket position, and I mean, at the end, I think we have the two right teams here for it. Obviously, potentially honourable mention to August, who at times looked like maybe they would have been coming through, but these guys did perform, and they're still extremely impressive to see.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess the main reason that the UK Masters came about was to try and showcase the talent that is out there in the UK in CS. And I know we've got a bit of a bad rep over the years, and to be honest, a lot of that is fairly justified. But one thing I can say, having witnessed the whole of this UK Masters tournament, is that there have been a lot of very impressive performances from the likes of FM, from Kaz, from Auglis at times, and even looking at some of the teams that you'd maybe consider the weaker teams in the tournament that we didn't see get through to the playoffs, they are teams that they could steal a map off of these guys that we are seeing here today. So I think it's been a very good showcase of what the UK has to offer, and it's definitely worth a look coming forward. And hopefully this final, kind of wrapping this whole thing up over these last few months, is going to be a very fitting end to that.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to seeing how these guys do. But onto the maps, I think, Crossy.
Yeah.
Do we want to give a little bit of a talk towards what we're going to be seeing and potentially which teams we're going to be seeing favoured? Because obviously I mentioned earlier, the first two we're going to be seeing do look like potentially they are going to be favouring Kaz. Obviously Dust, who you'd already mentioned, as we have seen before, and Cobble as well, another map that they have shown themselves to be strong on. Basically, as far as I can see it, FM have to take one of the first two maps if they want any chance in this, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm expecting to see them potentially, well, they've got a couple of new players, so maybe Dust 2 is going to be better for them. And then Mirage, they could quite feasibly pick up. So if we do see them still one of the first two, it could go all the way for this series.
It could do, yeah. My only worry about FM is these two players that are swapped in Windansky and Socken. You've got a couple of players that have got stack loads of experience. But what comes with stack loads of experience is you've got players that are coming from the system that we're used to seeing from way back in the day, where Dust 2 is very much a slow pace, get your pick on T-side, and then work from there. And that's a bit of a tough ask sometimes when you're dealing with a team that can change up the pace. And we've seen FM get unstuck with that a few times. And with Fry and Stanley, who they had, maybe didn't quite have the same amount of experience, but a little bit of youth in the side sometimes gives you that extra change of pace, which you might not necessarily have. So I think for FM, maybe this could be a little bit of a backward step in that regard, in that the ideas that we're going to be seeing are the kind of play that we've been seeing for a number of years. But they could surprise us. They could mix things up, and we could see something completely different from them, which is going to be interesting. But I think for Kaz, they do have that ability to go and get aggressive on the T side and look for those picks early doors, because you'd expect a disciplined CT side, they're not going to give their frag away easily. You're not going to get one player go charging off, flying solo, and getting it down to a 4v5 straight off the bat. So these are all things that we've got to look out for. And I think during the very early stages, probably the first 5 to 10 rounds, we'll start to get a feel of how this first map's going to go.
Yeah, no, probably the best way is to just leave it until we see what's going to be going on. And, well, it looks like that should be fairly soon. Just something you touched on that I find quite funny is old players in the UK scene.
Yeah.
I think that's something we've seen a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, Neil Zenio and Huds G, probably got about a decade of Source experience each, and moving on to the latest incarnation. And you kind of look at it and think, right, okay, well, if you're talking about two names that are synonymous with UKCS, then Huds G and Neil Zenio are probably two of those names that you could think about. And Windansky also in the same boat, who've been around for such a long time, in various guises. And some of these guys have played in some of the strongest teams that we've ever put out, and over the years, and that counts for quite a lot. But by the same token, fresh ideas, fresh weapons. I mean, we might see the Mag 7 get some play at various points throughout this tournament. And you say, oh no, but that's just a sign of how things change. And someone grabs a weapon that you normally wouldn't expect would work, and they get 4 frags with it.
I do remember that moment. Yeah, maybe on Cobblestone.
Yeah, it's prime for it.
The main reason that surprised me, or the main reason I found it interesting that you said that, was that they actually, FM, took 2 younger players out. Which, well, we'll see if that's going to be a handicap or not.
Yeah, and I think consistency might be one thing that they are going to now get back with this change that they've put in. I mean, one thing you find is if you've got a player that's got stack loads of ability but not necessarily as much experience, they might not know how to deal with situations when it's not going their way. So, I think no such luck for Socken and for Windansky, who are stepping in here, and they haven't got that to be worrying about as such. But we've got the first round underway. Going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. fairly standard setup coming in from the Kaz boys. You know, not going to get too aggressive, but Cryptix, he gets taken down to 9 points of health by Windansky straight away over towards the tunnels. Now he's going to be stepping away. Doesn't want to go and push that and get too aggressive early doors, but Nilzinho gets one. Robin trains back and Windansky ends up picking up a frag on Jacob as well, so that's going to be the B site where they have got their point of entry ready to break in. 4v3 is in favour of FM, and that plant is going to go in. So let's see if they can hold this thing off now.
Yeah, I mean, it's not looking like it's going to be too hard to do that. Kaz obviously lacking that crucial utility. They do have the kit, but that's about all they're going to get, and so they're just going to be charging in, seeing what they can do, and Jack's going to be finding one, but it's not going to be enough, as now it's just Boaster left, and he can't make it work. Cinder finds himself the last man, and that is going to be the first round going to FM, and I'd say in fairly dominant fashion. As soon as we see them get that B split underway, they've got that site, and they are not letting go of it.
No, exactly, and it's a tough one, because retaking a site on Dust 2, it can either be made to look very, very easy, or it can be the complete opposite on both really for various reasons. And yeah, you do find yourself getting dug in there quite easily, especially if you've got the numbers advantage. You can just double cover the angles. You've pretty much got door, window, tunnels, and then you're done. So you know, you've got that extra man to float and just look where the attention's coming from, plus whatever utility you've got left in your pockets, you can throw that out just to try and slow down the push anymore. With 40 seconds on that bomb timer, then there's a lot to work with. And you know, we're kind of seeing a similar situation to the first round. No huge commitment from FM just yet. Jacob taken down to 13 points of health. He's been tagged. Boaster manages to retreat out from the mid and use the smoke for cover, but you know, he's by no means comfortable if they want to go and work him in to be Robin, though. What a position he's got himself in coming from behind. They've got to be careful for this. They're not looking for that push out along, and Robin does get one before they look in his direction, but look at the amount of havoc he's caused. What was going to be a perfect mid to B has now been cut down, and they are not sure where they want to be going. Somating towards the tunnels, thinks about going in, but Windansky gets one before he's traded off by Chak. So it's 4 versus 3 in favour of Kaz. Gonna try and trade this straight back if they can. Try to do some damage. Is Som down in the bottom of tunnels, and Jacob takes him out though, and Chak, one bullet, takes down Socken as he makes his way onto the site. Hudge is going to get the plant in most likely, but that's probably all she wrote here.
Yeah, I mean, 21 HP, you can't see him doing a huge amount more, and he does definitely try, but Jacob's going to be a little bit quicker than him. Finds the frag, finds the second round, and Kaz managed to progress, keeping things even. Not something I thought we'd see, to be honest.
No, not at all. And you'd normally expect that if you get the pistol, you're going to piggyback through, get the next two. You've got the SMGs, and yeah, early worrying signs. And you know, a bit of an example of that, Kaz not afraid to push through and try and get him from behind. And even though Robin only got one frag initially, he caused such uproar, completely busted the strat, and yeah, game over. I would think the strat was perfect, but it was just executed way too slow.
I mean, way too slow for if you're going up against the pistol armor indeed, and FM are now going to be the people using those pistols. Hudge G going to be the only man with armor on this team, though, as they are a huge disadvantage right now. It's quite easy to see Kaz running away with this one. At least if FM don't pull off something spectacular, and they're looking to do what they've done the previous rounds. They set up that mid control, they play it a little bit slow. This time, though, they're going to be heading towards A through short, something that we haven't seen a huge amount of from them, and something which hopefully we can see work out for them here. Because stealing one back at this point would be so huge, but Boaster going to be starting them off. Finds himself 3 frags in a matter of seconds. Robin coming in with a nade as well. Leaves Cinder as the last man left, but he's not going to be left for long. Complete domination from Kaz there. Not a single man going down. And that A site just on lockdown.
Yeah, pretty flawless defense there. And, you know, it takes a little bit of ability to be able to get those headshots up from towards the short, especially when you've only got 60 bullets in your weapon. That nade from Cryptix. Yeah, we caught that, bro. We saw that. So I don't really know what to advise about that, but luckily it hasn't done too much damage to the bankroll or to anyone's HP. Jacob taken down to 94, so nothing really to worry about from that. And FM, though, they got themselves a decent little buy. Got AWP up in the hands of Hudge G. AKs all around. Not much utility, though, aside from Hudge G, who's probably going to be hanging back and, you know, not really going to be wanting to be first through, committing and throwing a flash up in the air with his AWP. But we'll see if that's going to become a problem during the later stages to this round. Boaster not committing into the mid, and I think that's quite a wise strategy, especially with FM they've kind of given themselves the reputation of being quite a slow-paced team. And now we're going to the usual setup of the hold mid, wait, see if you get a pick, and then decide around about 35-40 seconds where you want to go.
Yeah, and it looks like, well, they're going to be making their decision at the moment. They've got that smoke out CT, so it could facilitate something that way, but it doesn't look like they're going to be heading fully out just yet. We do finally see them going for a little bit of a peek. Hudg going to be taking the aggressive angle with the AWP, but he can't quite find the shot, and that's going to have given it away. Still manages to find Jack. Boaster now the man standing between them and that B site, but he's got a lot of work to do, and they're not looking his way anymore. Instead, he has to shift his focus towards short. Still going to be waiting there. He was deadly last time. Can he do the same? This time it's only going to be a dink before he goes down. And just like that, is Jacob and Cryptix left 2 versus 5 on the complete wrong end of the map.
Yeah, and this seems to have worked. It was looking very pedestrian from FM, to be honest. And yeah, I'm kind of thinking, please, guys, let's get a bit of momentum into this thing. But it worked, actually, because they just took their time, stepped out, got that pick, which you need. And then from that point, Windansky did the same thing. And you know, Windansky's picked up the odd frag here and there, which is quite useful, I think, in the way that they want to go forward. And probably going to pick up their second round, bring it back to 2-2 during the very early stages of this UK Masters Grand Final. And exciting times, and Jacob does pick up Windansky, so it's not going to be a flawless victory, but they can still try and hunt him down and drop that P90 if they can. Cryptix, he's looking for the peak, and he does take down Som. So, you know, a little bit of economy damage, but I think in general FM are going to be okay on these rebuys, and actually it's quite tight. Those guys haven't got a lot of cash to play with.
I mean, it's going to be tight, but T-side, that's going to be a lot easier to deal with. Kaz also having a little bit of money trouble there. You can see Boaster having to go for the P90. We do have M4s on the rest, but definitely not the strongest buy, and both teams now going to be hurting in terms of economy, meaning this round is so important.
And sure is. They're thinking about a long, but it is not going to happen just yet. So no long action. Let's go bide their time. If you go for the standard setup, it's probably going to be another 40 seconds before we see any real commitment from FM. That's unless Kaz want to try and force the issue and step into their iron sights or Hudg's AWP. But I don't think we're going to see too much of that just yet. Don't want to overcommit. Don't want to try and do anything too silly. And you know, Som for FM, we've seen him at times go a little bit walkies and try and push somewhere on CT side, get himself picked off. And you know, there's one particular match, I can't remember who it was up against, I think it might have been in the August game, where they were pretty much running 4v5 a lot of the time. And it seems a little odd, but we'll see if they want to plan with that, as FM now going to be committing to this long push, and they are out. But there is still a bit of attention from Jack, who goes down straight away. And you know, Boaster now, he can work from the short, try and cut down the pincer movement, and that's exactly what he does. So they're going to be coming in from one angle now if they want to rotate behind, but 35 seconds left to go on the clock. Probably not a lot of time to do that.
Well, I mean, it's what he's been doing so far, but it looks like he's going to be in an awful position to do it. Cryptix instead going to be the man stepping up here. Finds himself 4 in the round to make sure it goes Kaz's way and to essentially shift that momentum into their advantage, because obviously we were talking about the economies at the end of the last round, and realistically, FM's is going to be hurting now. They're forced onto these pistols. You can't even get armor on more than one player. They do have a little bit of utility, but it's all they're really going to have to work with. And Kaz has sat there with a full buy. Kaz has sat there ready to continue their reign, ready to put some more rounds on the board and to try and put some sort of distance in between themselves and FM before this half closes out. And guess what, Mark? We're seeing the same thing again. This time, though, the mid-aggression going to be coming a little bit faster, and maybe that's just what they needed, but unfortunately for them, Robin's going to be shutting down Neilzinho right off the bat. Nothing really coming of it so far, as we're going to be seeing everybody drop one after the other until it's just Cinder left, and he gets taken down from behind as well. So a nice idea, a nice little change in pace, potentially something that could have worked. Just in this case, unfortunately for them, they got caught out.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Do that with weapons and utility at some point, boys, and you're probably going to end up picking up a round from it. But we'll just have to see if they can employ that. And maybe they're thinking about it down the long, but it seems unlikely as Jacob misses by a mile on that AWP shot as Robin goes down to Hudg. And they are now going pretty fast outside the long, but they're not covering these angles all that well. And now they are stuck. You know, got that age-old issue of do you push through a smoke? Well, they decided against it, got themselves caught, and it's back to a 4v3. So Kaz going to be trying to put the momentum back in their direction very quickly and reset any economy that might be coming in for FM Esports. Try and slow them down a little bit as it's now 4v3. Boaster down to 24 points of health, so one nade or one shot, and he's pretty much gone. But he's got a decent opportunity to make a play on Windansky. Doesn't make any shots to begin with, but he does now. Ends up picking up that frag. Plant comes in, so $800 in the account, but should be a fairly easy retake, you'd think.
I mean, you'd assume that it was going to be just that way. Kaz obviously started with the utility, they start with the kits, they've got everything they possibly need. It's just going to come down to whether they can make it work, and it's going to be up to FM to make sure it doesn't. And initially, they're not doing such a bad job. 3 frags in a matter of seconds, leaving it in a 1 versus 1. HudsG versus Cryptix here. And it looks like they might have a chance of taking the round after all, especially as Cryptix doesn't really seem to want to go for it right now. Just sat inspecting his knife for a while before chilling down. Or chilling out. Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the crash from Cryptix coming in. Right, okay. Well, that's not the best way to go and lose what was potentially a very winnable round, but these things do end up happening, which is, a little bit gutted, but never mind. And looking on balance, Kaz already 4-3. They've got slender advantage here, and Dust 2, it's one of those maps that can be played in a variety of different ways, but it is, for the most part, a T-sided map. You want to be at least winning things out, if nothing else. Get yourself an 8-7. And it can play either way. Sometimes you'll find the T-side just can't get any kind of entry picks going, have to try and rush on mass, get caught in the either SMGs, weapons up close, different angles, etc. It can be a really tough day for you on T-side as well, don't get me wrong, but FM going to be wanting to put in a strong performance here, get 8, 9, 10 rounds on the board if they can, and for Kaz just to hang with them and trade backwards and forwards, then they've got to be pretty happy with that.
And they're not going to be sad about it. Dust 2, as you said, is a map of slender advantages. If you can get yourself just a tiny bit out in the lead, and then you can just try and sort of extend that bit by bit, sort of moment by moment, inch by inch even, it's occasionally enough to get you through it. And I mean, it's still a bit early in my mind for us to actually call anything right now, because 4-3 is not decisive by any means. We could still see this go either way by a long stretch. We could see FM come through, take Kaz's economy apart, and build something out of the remains. At the same time, we could see FM just continually get shut down as soon as they get an economy going, and then Kaz just push on from that point and continue to put distance between themselves. Or we could see both teams trading rounds back and forth and keeping sort of close. It's impossible to decide right now, and both teams are sort of in that fragile state where anything could happen. I mean, I'm not sure if you can see Kaz's economy, but after this buy, you've got players in the hundreds of dollars. 4 of the players are in the hundreds of dollars, and that's always a bit of a scary scenario to be in, especially when you don't have a huge amount to work with in the round as it is. I mean, Chat has a defuse, but apart from that, it's going to be utility, some weapons, not even full M4s, and no AWP, which on Dust 2 definitely means something.
Yeah, I guess to kind of strip it right back to basics for anyone that's watching that isn't a regular CS player, then the game is based on money, and if we're talking in very simplistic terms, it costs less to get your usual buys together on the terrace side than it does on CT side. So if you can't get any momentum going on CT, you feel the pressure of the finances a little more, and you can't necessarily get the weapons. You want the flashbangs and the nades to try and slow up any potential pushes, that kind of thing. So just as a very simplistic explanation of it for anyone watching that isn't a regular Counter-Strike player. So hopefully that helps you out with your understanding of it. But yeah, I think that does hammer it home that it can be a dangerous one on CT side unless you can sustain 3-4 round wins at a time. If it goes backwards and forwards, then it tends to favour the terrorists. And it might come down to, as you say, we're getting to the later stages with 3-4 rounds left to play in the half. FM make the finances pay and then put a few rounds on the board just to finish strong. So we shall see how it pans out. It looks like we are back up and ready to go. Back in 4-3, first map of the grand final of the UK Masters competition, and let's see what goes on here. Will we see a team start to run away with it now? Maybe this pause will have been enough to allow the guys to have a bit of a chat and decide what they want to do going forward. Don't think either team can be particularly upset with their performance, but as always, you'd like to have more rounds on the board. And for Kaz, they want to try and dig their heels in and make sure the economy doesn't get on top of them too much. Minute 30 left to go. No one has gone for anything too aggressive yet on the CT side, so probably going to see around about 20-30 seconds before anything too much happens here.
I mean, we can see people set up outside of long, actually, with some smokes in their hand, so maybe we're going to be seeing that come into it on this one. FM definitely shifting their focus in these past couple of rounds more towards that A side than the B side, and doing a great job of it as well. The last round, I think, was a little bit unfortunate for Kaz, but that means that this is the perfect round for FM to start themselves off in the right direction, and they're doing a fine job already. They managed to shift Kaz's attention towards long at the beginning, but it's not going to be working for too long after all, as Robin manages to spot them out and finds himself a 1-for-1 trade before going down. Windansky still stood outside of doors, still waiting to see if anybody on the side of Kaz is going to be getting aggressive. And there are two men there, so he has the right idea, despite the fact the bomb's already down on site. And it looks like they might actually give him something to work with. At the very least, some sound cues he can use to give himself some ideas, or to give themselves some ideas, rather, about where they're going to be seeing the CTs coming from towards that site. And now it's up to Kaz to make the difference. It's going to be a 4 versus 4. Most of their utility already gone. It's just going to be up to FM to hit these shots right now. Another 1-for-1 trade. But another time, it looked like it might not have been good enough still. Apparently, FM just pull everything out of nowhere. 3 frags in a matter of seconds again to make sure that Kaz can't do a thing.
Yeah, I got aboard with Windansky, and he did exactly right. Jumped in from behind, did some damage. I think he picked up 2 assists to add to his tally there, plus a frag or 2 as well. So really good stuff, and they're able to lock it down. Bit of a pincer movement. A couple of angles you've got to worry about. And Shaq tries to get up close with Windansky, but he's not having that. Picks up his 7th frag of this Grand Finals first map. And that's going to be some very early start. And probably good information as well. FM probably know that Kaz are on the eco. They did get unstuck by this, though, after the second round. Ended up losing that one. Som on the spray down does manage to get Boaster. Second player there, and it has to be a pistol to the face, but it's enough to take down Robin as well. Socking with a frag on Jacob, leaving last man standing. Cryptics, he's the first to go down, and that's a couple more rounds straight on the board for FM.
And that's extremely unfortunate. We were talking about what happens if Kaz's economy starts going down the toilet. What happens if they get caught in this situation where they're just being bullied? And apparently the caster's curse is real here. Apparently we're going to be seeing that happen, and we're going to be seeing FM try and put some distance between themselves. Obviously at the moment it's only 1 round, but again, we see Kaz in that sort of situation of economic frailty where, at most actually at the moment, they have $100 to spend. Obviously that's going to be bolstered by whatever's gained this round, but it's still worrying. If they manage to lose this one, they're going to be right back onto, potentially pistols, maybe rifles, if they can properly squeeze everything out of their banks. But it's not going to be good by any means.
No, it sure isn't. And a very short little pause we've got here. Shouldn't take more than a minute to get this one straightened out, and then we're going to be back into things. And after that little break, it seemed to work in FM's favour and gave them a few things to work with. I mean, granted, this was an eco bash the last time out, and the other round before that took a good bit of work, a good bit of crossfire from the boys. See, okay. So we should be back and up and running within a matter of seconds, which is good. Couple of little pauses though. I mean, you might see the odd tactical pause get thrown in once in a while just to talk things over. Probably too early in the encounter to have to start worrying about that as such, but sometimes it's a useful little thing just to take a breather and to talk things over. And with 3 rounds going in FM's way in quick succession, this probably isn't the time for Kaz to start worrying about it that much. They've just got to get their economy back on an even footing and just make sure that they're solid and win this thing out. I guess the main thing is make sure that you don't get picked off too early.
Yeah, you got to be hoping. Hopefully we're going to be back into this extremely soon. I thought everything was square. Are we all square, Mark?
I think so. A little bit of a debate going on here, but I'm sure we'll be underway very soon.
Well, quick reminder, we are back into that round where Kaz are in a precarious position. A couple of $100. I think $100 at the most on their side. FM building a little bit more of a lead in terms of money, building a little bit more of a lead in terms of rounds of momentum and sort of everything you want going into this game. And you can see they're sat in the thousands right now. So should we see FM drop around, they're going to be in a position where they can try and bounce back. They can try and come straight from that position, push against Kaz, reset their economy, and put some more rounds on the board. If Kaz drop one, well, we're going to be seeing same old, and FM finding themselves some more rounds.
Yeah, I think so. We've still got a little bit more time going on for this delay. I'm trying to get that wrapped up as soon as we can, but this is the UK Masters Grand Final, map number 1. Bit of Dust 2 action, and it's one of the... I mean, even if you do play at a faster pace, it's still one of the slower paced maps that you tend to deal with. I guess the other one you can kind of draw to is Inferno, which tends to end up getting dropped out of map pools or vetoed pretty early on. Mainly because it's not too bad to play it as such, but from a viewer perspective, it can be a bit of a drag just waiting around in the mid area and then committing around about 35-40 seconds. With some of the other maps that we'll be seeing, you get contact a little earlier, you get the chance of potential mid picks. So, yeah, a few more extra dynamics that you can look at during the early stages, and then once you get that, you can work from it. Robin straight away with a frag on Windansky, so that's going to help Kaz's chances of getting themselves back into this one, bringing it 5-5 with an early pick. And I think for FM, they're going to slow up for a few seconds, decide where they want to be going. I think Bomb has actually been dropped as a result of that. And, yeah, Bomb has been dropped, so they'll have to go and retrieve that. I don't think it's too difficult to find. It's actually over towards the T-spawn, so it's going to be a case of going out and grabbing it. It's sometimes a little bit frustrating if you're trying to work a strat, but if you're just playing for a bit of time, just waiting for your push to come in, then not so much of a problem, and they have retrieved that and are now ready to go and start making their play on 2A.
I'm finding it scary, actually, how much of the map these guys are just leaving open. They seem completely confident in the fact that Kaz aren't going to be pushing anywhere. And I'm assuming that's something that they've spotted out from either demos or just playing them in the past a lot, because guess what? Kaz aren't taking advantage of the space. They feel potentially like FM are going to be up close, ready to deal with them should they get aggressive. And I don't know, it's just interesting to see, because all it's going to take is one time for them to realize that they do have the space to work with. At the moment, though, going to be a push towards the A site, and Kaz keeping themselves in the lead to start off with, but Cinder finding a quick 2 to get FM back into things. Neil Zinho coming in with one of his own, and just like that, it's a 2 versus 2, and Kaz are back on the retake. An AWP on Jacob and M4 on Cryptix, but no real utility to speak of past one smoke grenade. It's not going to be easy, and as Jacob goes down, it's going to be even more difficult, even with Cryptix in the position. Neil Zinho could find that trade. It was always going to be round to FM, and it does mean that we're going to be seeing them take a slightly more commanding lead of 2 rounds, but again, potentially going to be able to widen that now to 3, just based off the fact that Kaz, once again, don't have that money. They can afford themselves some pistols, but they're not going to be getting much more than that. No nades even coming out. And so you can almost assume this one should go to FM.
Yeah, you'd certainly think so. They did get unstuck in the first, after the first round, where they came up pistols against the SMGs that they'd obtained. And Robin straight away with a crisp deagle shot taking down Neil Zinho. So that's an interesting start to things. And, you know, again, it's a benefit for Kaz to have that numbers advantage. Didn't quite pay off for them last time, and in general, they didn't have the firepower either, or they won't have. Got to be on point with the deagles. You know, no chance for Robin to retrieve that weapon that he's able to fell just yet. But FM, you know, again, don't want to commit too much to this. They just want to bide their time. Hope that someone on one of these upgraded pistols is going to try and push somewhere, try and catch them from behind. And just got to be careful that they don't have a repeat of when Robin pushed in behind him and caused havoc. And they are just playing it past the loop for the time being, spamming a couple of spots and that kind of thing. But we are probably going to see some movement now on Boaster. He might have a play on Huds G, and does manage to do a decent amount of... Oh, no, actually, he hasn't done any damage to him. I thought some of those shots are connected, but no such luck, and they're now moving into the B. Jacobs in a great little boost spot, but he's probably only going to get one frag before he's called off, and FM going for the B in some force.
I actually deal with him straight away. Socken finding that one, but there's going to be more damage coming in from the Kaz side. Boaster, Shaq, and Cryptix finding themselves one apiece with these pistols until it's just Cinder left on 8 points of health. And it looks like we might be seeing another Kaz pistol round victory, because right now, even if he manages to get that bomb down, all they need to do is move in as a unit, and it's an almost guaranteed round at this point. There's no way that he's going to be able to take on 3 of them should they all peek at once. And, well, unfortunately for Cinder, he's not even going to be finding one. Drops, and FM only find 2 in the round. That is a huge surprise and quite painful, as it's going to put Kaz right back up there, right back in contention. And right back in that position where we could quite easily see them overtake. So they're going to be keeping things close, really in situations where they shouldn't be at all.
No, that's exactly right. And Cryptix, he grabbed himself an AK and he's got 3.4k sitting in his pocket, ready to take through into the next round. So they've got to be careful, make sure they don't get reset, because that just piles on the extra pressure. You end up getting fragged after you've lost a few rounds on the spin, and you lose the extra loss bonus that you've been raking into your account. So something they've got to be careful of, but you'd expect that if they can just keep it solid and not get picked off too early, then they've only got to deal with FM's push when they decide to go in probably about 40 seconds time, that kind of thing. And even with a massive utility, you can still get your players rotating in, trying to back up, and they might not have to worry about the flashes so much, or they might be avoiding the angle of a Molotov or a smoke, and that Molotov has actually slowed up Socken from being able to throw his utility into the site, at least for the time being. But still plenty of time left on the clock for them to start making their move. Windansky's sitting in a similar kind of position. He's changed his angles, but he is looking for someone to go pushing out along doors, which is quite tempting when nothing is happening over towards the A site, for example. But the push is coming now. Cryptix has to get on his bike, but FM are going for this A site now.
I mean, the thing is, Kaz know all they have to do is sit there, and they're going to be finding themselves the frags, and they continue to do just that. 4 players fell on the FM side, and everybody on Kaz still sat happily alive. Nothing to worry about at this point. You were talking about Windansky's position, the fact he was just waiting for somebody to get in his way, sort of waiting for somebody to come around the corner so that he could find the frags, but it just didn't happen in the end, and it means he has to go on the offensive. He manages to find himself two, he manages to find himself the AWP, but the bomb's all the way on the A site, so it doesn't look like it's going to be a round that he can even potentially win. Just holding on to the weapon for the moment, holding on to everything he has in his hands, and I think hoping he can maybe find an exit before he leaves. He goes for the shot, but it's not going to be connecting. And so he is just taking through what he had with him.
Yeah, he sure is. And it's a little bit of a tough one, I guess, because if there's an AWP on the ground, yeah, you've got to save the AWP, and there's nothing else that you could really do with it, to be honest, in that situation, other than go for it, which would just be suicide, to be completely honest. But with one AWP and a bunch of pistols, well, no one in Kaz is really committing themselves in a position where they can get picked off with the AWP. And last time I think I remember HUDG getting an AWP pick, he had to push all the way through the mid doors and go and pick up a frag, and there he goes, and there goes the AWP. So Jacob does get aggressive. They try and work something over towards the B side, but that's a tough pick, especially where Jacob is now behind the boxes. You've only got a head to aim for, and a fairly decent amount of area to cover behind that box. It's a wide old area, as opposed to able to get Neilzinho, and Jacob, he does get dinked, but no, actually, that was just above his head, that shot, so he doesn't even take that one to the face. And FM have to drop out, heading towards the A site, but you can see Chak, he's not pushed through, which again is a temptation to push through, drop out into mid, try and go into lower and stop any kind of B attack. He's instead stood his ground, knowing that there could be some fake, knowing how much time's left on the clock, and knowing that FM seem to want to leave it fairly last minute before they make their push.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of have to commit now. It's sort of we're expecting to see it happen, but Socken goes down immediately. Chak's going to be on long, making sure that Cinder can't do anything, and it's going to be Windansky finding himself the first frag, but not really looking like he can push it too much further than that. He has the AWP, he has the bomb, but he doesn't have a great position. And should he head over to B? Well, Jacob's sat there with the AWP. At least potentially going to be finding himself one of these frags in. Lex Foster manages to pick it up first, goes huge on Cinder, and finds himself Windansky as well. So another wonderful showing from Kaz, another round on the board for them. And another moment where potentially what we were talking about earlier with FM's inability to really change the pace and sort of one-track mind when it comes to how they approach a map just holds them back a little bit. They're still going for that passive style. I want to see sort of more of what we had for those sort of couple of rounds earlier, where they just decided to go aggressive right from the start, do something a little bit crazy, change the tempo entirely, and try and catch Kaz off guard, because if they don't, then I reckon we're going to be seeing more rounds just being put on the board by Kaz's CT side.
Yeah, most likely. We'll see Kaz take a 9-6 on CT, which you wouldn't normally expect from a Dust 2 for the most part, and then FM, yeah, okay, they're going to play their CT side, they're going to be a well-drilled unit, but Kaz, if anything, are probably more versed in being a little more aggressive, changing up the pace, and they might be able to generate a few more picks that FM just can't with the pace they're playing. And here we see mid to B. They got Cryptix there to back up, and he's maybe just a second too slow. And Nilzinho does pick up the frag somehow. I don't know how, but it's still a 3 versus 3, and FM decide to fall away and decide what they want to do. Now this is now an interesting little situation. You've got basically 1 mid, 1 A, and 1 site if you want to go for it. Nilzinho, he gets a frag taking down Robin. So Cinder now over towards the site. Chak fires straight back, taking down Windansky. So now we're back to a 2 versus 2. 40 seconds left to go on the clock. Bomb planted over towards the A site. And let's see what Kaz have got in their retake. Are we going to see a 7-all?
Well, I mean, realistically, Kaz's retakes haven't looked so good so far. I think the only time we've actually seen them successfully complete one was in that second round. So you can't hold too much hope for this, but they're still going to be trying for it. Unfortunately, Chak's going to be going down instantly, and it's all on Jacob. He finds the first. But there is one more to go. Nilzinho on the side, and he manages to land the shot through the box. Takes himself the frag, has the kit, and that does mean that it's going to be another board on, the round, another round on the board for Kaz to push the score to 8-6 and actually give them the win in the half overall, no matter what happens from this point on. And now it's FM's turn to try and take this as close as possible. They want this last round. They want an 8-7 scoreline, because a 9-6, while still completely average and while still not particularly worrying, just isn't what you're looking for on Dust 2, especially on the T side.
No, it's not. Pars extra pressure on you to try and win out your pistol for sure. And even if you do win out your pistol, as we saw, FM end up losing it straight back in the second time of asking. So all little dynamics that you got to worry about, and it just gives you that extra thing you got to worry about. Sort of tightens you up, especially when you're on the stage under lights. I mean, that's a little bit of extra pressure straight off the bat. First map, you want to be making a good impression. All little things just sort of tighten up your arm when you need to make that crucial frag. And I guess the advantage when you've got SMGs is you can kind of spray in the area and hope for the best, but you don't really want to be hoping for the best at any stage, to be honest. And we're now seeing, again, fairly similar thing from FM. What else? Fairly passive, going for a bid to beat. This time they're not getting pushed from anywhere, but Windansky straight away, Boaster gets the frag, and Boaster is making his move, and he's got his second frag, taking down Socken as well, and they've dropped very quickly off a CT spawn, knowing this is going to be happening, and they're now pushing in. Cinder does get one on Cryptix, and he's got the frag. He's already got the number of the player at the back of sight, and does take down Jacob as well, so maybe this is going to be FM's round after all, if they can get themselves into the tunnels. So it's going to be Kaz. Can they retake here?
And it's going to be another 3v3. It's going to be another even retake. And obviously, as I was saying in the last round, Kaz haven't had too much luck, but last round they managed it. So maybe, just maybe, there's a chance. At any rate, we're going to be seeing 2 men entering from tunnels, but HUDG is going to be cutting Chak down to start things off. Boaster comes in, though, with his 3rd frag in the round to answer back, and going to be finding his 4th as well. Can he go for the ace here? Now it's just Cinder left, and he's going to have to. Robin drops, but Boaster can't quite make it work. A 4K responded upon by a 4K as Cinder closes that one out and manages to find FM their 7th in the half. So an 8-7 scoreline mark, definitely not too bad, but at the same time, far from, far from exciting, far from ideal. It still means that we've got another half to go where, realistically, anything could happen, and the pistol round is going to be so important here. If Kaz managed to pick it up, they're in double digits already, and at that point, it's just a matter of closing it out.
Yeah, I think so. We've got another short pause, just really quickly. I've got a... Sorry, guys. There we go. We'll see if that actually worked in a minute.
We gotta hope.
Yeah, fingers crossed. See what we should be underway, and we are. So the unpause is underway, and we are back in for the second half, or we should be very soon. So Kaz, slender lead, very slender, not a whole lot to be working with, but it's something, especially on that T side. If they can end up getting this next one on the board, you would expect they'll be able to piggyback through, get the next couple as well, taking it to 11-7, and from that point, first buy versus buy, well, if you end up staring down the barrel of a 12-7 without the cash to be rebuying, then you could see this drift away very quickly for FM, especially with the economy now going to be even tighter on them on this CT side. And it's a good chance to see for Kaz how slow they're going to play it in comparison to FM. Will we see a similar kind of game from them?
I mean, it looks like it at the moment as FM have got the aggression all the way up the map. You can see Windansky and Cinder heading their way through mid, all the way to long doors, and Cinder going to be starting things off with a frag onto Jacob. So Kaz already been caught out in a similar position to that of FM on their half, but Chak manages to recover it. Of course he does, finds himself two. And Robin manages to make it a third, giving Kaz the advantage as they push into the B site. Nilzinho, though, still going to be doing everything he can from that point. Still going to be finding himself those lovely, lovely shots. It's just whether they can stop them getting the bomb down, because Kaz is still completely uncommitted, Mark. They're still in mid. They still haven't decided, and they can still go anywhere on this map. So it's very, very possible that we're going to be seeing them go up against one player in whichever site they go in.
Yeah.
And at that point, the site and the bomb plant could be theirs, even if the round doesn't end up going their way.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it's got to be. If you've got 2 players left, then you either move as a unit on your CT side, or you take a site each and just try and use utility to get rid of them. Well, there's no utility, so you can rule that option out. But you know, you can kind of play areas in a way where you can hide enough and just bob in and out and delay and play rope-a-dope around boxes, etc. And they've played this perfectly, because FM, they were moving as a unit. They looked over towards the A, and now they're starting to drift off towards the B. Not a single footstep. Bomb gets thrown across. That probably would have been heard, and the plant will definitely be heard, but they've got this thing now planted, ready to go. Hudgy has to come over. Nilzinho is there. So 2 seasoned campaigners for FM Esports. Probably about 20 years experience combined between them. Can they bring this thing home? Well, they're trying for it. Nilzinho, what a shot that is on the spin, taking down Chak, and he gets his second as well. Defuse comes in, no kit, but they do end up picking this thing up, and it is now to 8-all after the first round of the second half.
I mean, that's exactly what FM wanted, and I think the only real question at the moment is, can Kaz pull off the second round victory 2 times in a row? Obviously, in the first half, it was one of the things that really helped propel them, and it's probably what sort of pushed them towards winning the half overall, finding themselves that 8th round. If FM can make this one, well, 3 rounds, if they can take the conversions that you'd expect them to be able to find, then potentially we're going to be seeing them with a much better lead into this second half, and with a good chance of putting some distance between themselves and pushing forwards. But obviously that all depends on what Kaz do this round, and it all depends on how we're going to be seeing them. The bomb plant in the last round does mean that we're going to be seeing Kaz going with just the pistols, and it looks like they might be able to get another one down as well. Robin just ducks down, plants it straight away, and Jacob still manages to find himself a frag to start things off. So even when they don't invest nearly anything into the round, Kaz still look ridiculously strong.
And it doesn't look like they're going to be breaking away from that one either. They are mowing down these FM players as they try and make their way in, so it is going to be the same kind of deal, trading back. They're going for it, and they got themselves onto the site. There is a chance. Cryptic's over towards the double stack. He's just being a pest, if nothing else. And Socken gets one before he's traded away. But Hudgy, why did you come off the defuse, bro? You could have had that, but instead he tries to pull away. And nearly does take Robin in the end as well, but I don't think he left himself enough time to get the defuse again if he did pick up those 2 frags.
I'm just in awe at the moment, Mark. That should never happen, and that should never happen 2 times in a row. Kaz, obviously, already with the 1 bomb plant under their belt, are going to have all the money in the world to work with right now, and you can see it coming out. Robin chooses to stick with the MP7 he picked up in the last, but the rest of them, well, they've got AKs, they've got full utility, they've got everything they could possibly want, and FM now are going to have to do the impossible themselves if they want to get back into this one. But already, Socken is taken down. Chak with a wonderful headshot to start things off in this round. And Kaz looking as strong as ever, trying to start the second half off as they did the first, and at the moment, succeeding. Windansky finally able to get one back, but it's what they're going to be able to do from here, and it looks like that might just be not much as Boaster chimes in as well, and it's Windansky and Nilzinho left just like that, 2 versus 4, with no real map control, no real presence, and, well, the majority of the team of Kaz Esports just ready to deal with them wherever they may come from.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. 4v2, there we are going, you would expect for the kind of split the site thing, but it turns out they're not. Actually, got one over towards B, one over towards A, so now kind of in the area, but not on the site. And see, who's this? Well, Windansky's pretty much going to walk straight into a bear trap over towards the other side by the looks of things. He's looking to the crossover, misses by a mile with his 3 shots. It's kind of Yeah, the player's already gone, and then he's shooting. He's just way too slow on that. Must be getting old, old Windansky. Been around a little too long, not quite as crisp as he used to be. But doing all right on the old frag charts, and now they are just going to be looking for exits now, picking up what they can, maybe a cheap AK. The Cavs are going to be tempted to go for a little bit of a push and try and hunt, but you know, it doesn't look like it. They're just keeping this thing locked down.
Yeah, you wouldn't expect them to give anything up. It's just an unfortunate reality. They found themselves the site. The only man that died was holding an MP7. Why do they have a reason to push? Let FM take the armor, let them take the pistols through, because they're just not going to be able to do anything huge with it in the next round. Yeah, it might save them $650, $1,000 here, but Kaz can make that allowance right now. They just want to focus on their game, focus on being as well equipped as they can, focus on building their own economy early on into this half, so they can push through and take the first map.
Yeah, and if they do that, one more map will bring this thing home for them. I'm thinking about this. This is FM's map pick as well. Dust, so not quite sure how that's panned out as Robin takes down Cinder straight away, and he's got his second with the Mac 10, so he's got the 200% kill bonus as well. He is going to be filling the coffers with money after picking up those 2 frags, and you'd expect the way this is going, Bomb Plant's going to come in and the round. They've got 3 players looking towards the crossover, but will they be able to do anything? I mean, Kaz, they don't even throw a smoke that's going to smash them all down. Flawless victory. Boaster down to 2 HP. You only would have had to blow on him, but they keep all 5 players left alive, and we're now up against the first real buy versus buy. FM going for this thing, full commit, and they've barely got enough money to get themselves a Nando's at the end of this thing.
Oh dear, that's why they gotta hope they win, man. Potentially gonna be finding themselves something for free if they can manage it, but already things have gone sour. Robin to start the round off again. This time with the AWP manages to find himself one onto Windansky before some weapons are switched around, and Jacob ends up with it, so I assume they were just playing that for the spawns. And you can see why it worked for them. Already a 5 versus 4, and now they can slow things right down. Now they don't have to worry. They don't have to assert themselves early on, because what are FM going to do? They push, they lose another man, they're in an awful situation. They now just have to split on the sites and hope that they can get something started when the push comes in. They can't really do a huge amount more, and you can already see Kaz are so confident. They take mid without really giving it too much thought. And it doesn't matter where they go. It's going to be a perfect setup, especially if we see Cinder getting aggressive here. Cryptic should be waiting in the perfect position, but actually Cinder going to manage to find himself the frag. And with it, the bomb, so that's something already. Socken chiming in as well, and Hud's G there with the AWP to find himself a third, or to find his team a third, and leave it in a 2 versus 2. FM suddenly looking like they have a chance in this round, and suddenly looking like they might be able to put the brakes on Kaz a little bit.
Nope.
Yeah, until that happens.
I'm seeing both, so I'm thinking he could have walked out the door and done some damage, but instead just sat and waited, and that was super clever. I like that a lot. Gives them a chance to go and run around. Now, this is the problem. They haven't got a lot of time to work with, so they've got to retrieve this bomb and just get it into sight. It's going to have to be A, it's going to have to be short, and I don't think they've even really got time to do that. Got to go for the frag here.
Yeah, they need to find that frag. 12 seconds and the bomb all the way down long, and well, Cinder's just played a blinder. He doesn't have to care right now. He can just sit there. He knows that he's safe.
Wow. I guess Cinder's just thinking, they haven't planted yet. They haven't planted yet. I'm not going to commit until they plant.
It's that horrible tense second where you see the clock tick from like 4 to 3.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, am I going to hear that sound? Is it going to be a retake? But fortunately for FM, it's not, and that means that they're back in it with another buy round. It's not going to be perfect. They are going to have FAMASs. They are going to be a little bit low on utility on a couple of the players, but it's stronger than what they would have had otherwise.
Yeah.
It's better than what they would have had otherwise, and Kaz are in another position where they need to start doing some more damage, because they've got a little bit of economy now, but if they keep losing rounds, and even with that 1 round lost, they're going to have trouble buying should they lose a couple. And Socken starts it off perfectly for the FM Resurgence, finds himself one, and leaves it 5 versus 4 from very early on indeed.
Yeah, what a way to go. And Socken down to 19 points of health, so he's going to have to be careful. He's going to have to fear nades. Also fear that fire if they go for it, and there's a bit of spray down through the mid doors, but Windansky escapes with his life for the time being, and he hasn't got the cash to bite the AWP, so now he does have that ability to play in a little closer than he perhaps would have done, and is able to get himself to safety. So we're going to see Kaz drop into maybe a similar kind of setup. No, actually, I'm going to say a similar kind of setup to FM, but they are now committing pretty full on towards this A. Plenty of Molotovs in there just to flush whoever's there off the site. And there's Hudge-G. He's first to go down from the ramp. And Windansky, he's given away his position from below. And Jacob is able to pick him up. So they've got control of this short platform. And now they can just wait for these 3 players of FM to try and come in and do what damage they can. The information is probably in. They know that Slocken's been hammered down to quite a lot. And Cinder, I don't know how he's pulled that one off. And Neil Zinio as well. So it's now 3 versus 1 in favour of FM. Nice work from Jacob, though. Great shot.
And he's going to be finding himself the second as well onto Socken, so it's a 1 versus 1 again. And it's going to be Cinder seeing what he can do to find a defuse on this one. Obviously, the timer is on him. And Jacob knows that he doesn't have to make a move until he hears that bomb get tapped. Cinder goes for it, and he's going to be holding it, but Jacob's there with the peek and will be finding himself that frag, so Kaz can continue their dominance, can reset FM, and can start to push themselves towards match point and eventually victory. 12 rounds on the board for them, and FM all the way back down to stock pistols. We're going to be seeing some USPSs coming out in this one, Mark, and it's not going to be pretty if you're an FM fan.
No, it is not, and I'm glad the camera wasn't on me at the point when I was watching that unfold, because it was so close. I mean, there was a hair in it between a defuse and a round on the board for Kaz, and it did end up going in the direction of Kaz. We've got a short pause again as Robin has crashed, so we'll get that one straightened out as quick as we can. And also, it turns out that I managed to put in the wrong command, so I'm going to take just a minute to do that right now. But yeah, it's an interesting little prospect, this game that we've got on, and this is just the first map. I mean, there's so much more that could still be played here. You know, another 3 maps after this one, potentially.
Yeah, no. There's still a long way to go, and obviously, next up, I'm pretty sure we have Cobblestone. So, UK standard.
Yeah, pretty much. It's kind of a shock that Cash isn't in the mix for once. You know, Cash was actually the first map that got vetoed out with this thing.
Really?
Which is a miracle, but...
Do you reckon they're sick of it after the group stages?
Probably. Cash Cobblestone won it every single week for one point.
I think I escaped the brunt of it, but yeah, whenever I tuned into the stream.
Cash and Cobblestone.
Hopefully these guys are going to escape the brunt of it, as obviously we bring them Dust to at the moment, and... Well, depending on which way Cobblestone goes, we might have some more interesting ones after that. I think it's Mirage after that, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So that one should definitely be interesting.
And then Train to finish it off. I mean, out of any map you want to close the thing out on, Train. I mean, I love Train. I've always loved Train. But it's one of those really... It's so tough. I still can't fathom out exactly how Train is played. It can go so many different ways.
Yeah, no, well, you say Train, I say if I wanted it to be, well, if I didn't want it to end on any map, rather, it'd be Nuke. But, obviously, that's just difference of opinion.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's an interesting one. Now, little chance to have a look at Kaz Esports up on the screen. So we've got Robin, the Swedish import, Chak, Cryptix, Jacob, and Boaster. So, you know, we've seen some great stuff from these guys. And, you know, we've also seen them struggle against some of the... teams kind of at the lower end of the spectrum, I think, as far as the Masters goes. But, you know, when it came down to crunch time, when FM at times were faltering, when Auglis at times were faltering, it was Kaz who are perhaps the strongest looking unit out of all of them. And yeah, I guess that's a good thing that you can be going for, is if you're starting off where you're not quite there for whatever reason, and then you put the time in and you're going and kind of growing and getting stronger throughout the tournament, that's perfect. And they've blossomed at the right time, and you know, even though it's sitting there 12-9, I'm seeing Kaz take this map. I can't look past them. You know, for FM, they're up against the Pistols. They've got a 3-round disadvantage, probably going to be 4 at the end of this, and see how many rounds have they lost on the spin. Well, they've just got themselves reset, so they can put a bye together, but it's going to be scrubby again if they lose this one, and you know, you could just see the map running away from them very quickly when you're looking at 14-9.
I mean, especially when you get to this stage. Obviously, if it was a little bit earlier on, you might give them some hope. But Kaz, obviously, as you said, have just reset FM. They're on 12 rounds at the moment. That's going to be 13 on the board, potentially. The buy in the next round, if FM manage to find one, is not going to be pretty. And if they get, if they get knocked back again there, then it's just going to be more and more rounds piling up on the Kaz side. You almost want to you almost want to suggest maybe play it a little bit safe at this point. Try and let Kaz put some distance up. Maybe let them get to round 14 and then put up your fight. But it's still, at that point, going to be so close. It's still going to be so difficult to make work. And if you falter even one bit, you're going to find one map advantage to Kaz.
Yeah. And that's all it takes, isn't it? It's just you're in a 50-50 situation. You get dropped on CT side. And, yeah, I guess we can talk about that just generally as we're waiting for the game to get back underway, is that when you're playing and you're on CT side, well, if you lose a player on CT side, it can be so much more damaging to your setup than if you lose that player on T side, as you've got to be covering angles. So, for example, on Dust 2, you're probably going to have 2 players on long, 1 player on short, someone watching mid who can then float into B if needs be and help out from there, and a B player. If you lose someone from either one of those spots, well, it's really tough. If you've got 1 player on each angle, long and short, over towards A, then one goes down, the other one is pretty much exposed and ruined. Mid, well, I guess if anything, you'd rather lose your mid player than anything else, but then, again, the B player can get trapped if a B comes in. A mid to B would be crippling towards the B site, and then you've got to try and retake. So, you can kind of think, well, in certain situations, would you prefer to lose a player on CT side? Well, it doesn't really work for you, does it? And considering on T side, even if you're 4v5, when you go and commit on a site, you're only going to have 1 or 2 players in there. You're still going with the advantage of, say, 4v2 until the rotate comes in.
It shouldn't be too much of a hassle on T side. Obviously, as you were saying, CT side is always going to be an issue, and I think the same can be said with weapons for a large part as well. I think realistically, you'd rather have sort of a scrubbier buy on your T side. If you've got the Tech 9s, if you've got maybe, I don't know, SMGs, shotguns, whatever you can scrape together, you're going to be able to do a lot more with it. You're going to be able to amplify what damage that can do through how you play, because you can choose how you set the pace of the rounds. You can choose where you take the engagements. Whereas on CT side, you're sort of at their mercy. So when you have these weaker buys, when you have that worse economy, you're just going to be put at such a huge disadvantage. You almost can't see them winning the rounds unless they get extremely lucky, or unless we see Kaz be extremely sloppy. And I'd hold out a little bit more hope for FM if we could see them get some sort of upgraded pistols here, but it doesn't look like we're going to be able to, well, we're going to be able to expect that. I mean, if you look at the money they're holding on to currently, I wouldn't even expect full P250 buy.
No, it's a real tough one for them. And so fragile at the moment that they've just got to ride this thing out, I think. Play it as you normally would. Full eco here. And then, well, yeah, scrub next time out and just make sure that you are tighter than normal. Make sure that you're not overcommitting, you're not peaking. I mean, even if it's just a case of, I might have a peak here, just don't bother. Don't look towards that angle, leave it alone, and just be a little safer, because you haven't got that same utility, for example, if you can't get your normal flashes, etc., to help you make that retake. So you've got to think more along the lines of stop them from getting that plant and getting site control before you even begin. You probably need all your players alive to be able to make that happen, and we are underway then. So 12-9, probably going to be 13-9. Judging by the amount of weaponry, etc. available, and Jacob goes for the shot into mid. Doesn't pick it up in the end, but it looked close at least. And, Socken, he's getting up closer. Maybe they're going to try and do something a little bit aggressive. And, FM did show that they can change up the pace on their CT side, and did get a little pushy during the very early stages of this second half. And maybe that is going to be the difference maker as Nielsen. He's down to 34, so I'm not sure where he got tagged from, but he's had to fall away, check down to 76 points of health. So he got slightly dented in that as well, but nothing too much to worry about just yet. Boaster looking towards the mid, so he's maybe going to work on T side the angle that he's been holding on the CT side, and maybe he's got a few little tricks that unstick him that might be useful going forward. But at the moment, against the pistols, you've just got to make sure that these silenced USPs aren't ripping your face off, that Windansky's not pulling off a crisp 1-dig from halfway across the map, which could happen. But it's a little tougher than it used to be back in the days of Source. the fond memories of what the Deagle used to be. Kind of like a handheld AWP to a point. Hudsg, so he gets pushed into CT spawn from the utility, and they've got, for the time being, at least pretty much full control of the A site. They don't know that yet, and you can see that by the pace that they're moving, and Cryptix has actually looked away from the chance of making some plays over towards the CT spawn. Robin gets one though, Chat gets one, and Robin gets another, so it looks like it is going to be pretty much a flawless victory. Windansky doesn't have any Chris Wondegers in his locker at this stage for us. He gets felled. Flawless victory. Eco Bash from Kaz. 13-9 it is, and that money's actually a little worse than I thought it was going to be for FM.
Yeah, no, it looked like the double eco might have had to come out from the beginning. I thought maybe they'd have I don't know, something to put A buy in. But right now it looks like it should be a double eco. Maybe we'll see a couple more pistols come out this time, but from what we saw in the last round, it doesn't give me a huge amount of hope for them, because honestly, that was, well, easy mode for Kaz. They really had no worries whatsoever going into that round and managed to make it work for themselves with, as you said, a flawless victory. They didn't lose a single player. They didn't even lose, I think, more than half health on anybody. So even with some slightly more upgraded pistols, even with maybe a couple more P250s on the board, a 5.7, that sort of thing, I still don't feel FM really have it in the bag, and it's probably advisable for them to just take everything they have in this round, put it through into the next one. Get the full buy, take it from there, play a bit more passive, make sure that they just have firm holds on all of the sites and deny those early entries. Use your utility for what it's there for, because Kaz certainly are. In the past couple of rounds, they have been relentless with the Molotovs. And so FM just need to be completely aware of everything they've been doing and, you know, take something for themselves into this one. At the moment, though, it's going to be Windansky seeing what he can take from the round. Finds himself one, but it's not going to be lasting long. Frags being traded back straight away by the Kaz side. We do see Boaster dropped as well by Socken. But unfortunately, even with that AK recovered, it's going to be difficult for him to do a huge amount, as he is well out of position. There's no way he can really get to that A site in time, and so it's going to be Neil Zeno as the last man who really has any presence for FM Esports. But the Molotov goes down on short. He has only a P250 to play with, and he keeps his distance, which realistically is probably the smart thing to do.
And walk straight into Robin. Brilliant AK control, just finds the face very quickly over towards the short. And Socken going to try and save this AK and bring it forward. Got a Molotov in his hand as well, so that could be useful. And also he's got himself, I was going to say he's got himself some armor. He hasn't got that, but he's got the cash to be able to rebuy it. CMJ wants to try and get aggressive on him, and they are not going to do that. So double eco comes in, and you know, it has the desired effect pretty much for FM. But for Kaz, well, 14-9. Going to be one buy versus buy to end it all, possibly. If FM don't pick this one up, they are not going to be buying again, I would not expect. Actually,
I mean, Socken's AK is going to help a little bit, but
yeah,
it's still far from perfect. I think you'd have to agree. It's not where they want to be, and as you said, if Kaz managed to win this one, they're still going to be in such a great position, so they're going to be trying to go for that right off the bat, and they're going to be changing things up just a little bit. Once again, you see that early aggression towards the A site, and Boaster manages, towards the B site, and Boaster manages to make it work for himself. Neil Zeno does manage to come back in with one of his own, but it's not going to matter a huge amount, as we already see Kaz using it to put presence elsewhere on the map, but Hudsg comes in with 3, I think one of them being a collateral, to put FM right back on the board. And just like that, it's Boaster left, the man we saw starting the round off with that AWP in his hands, now in a position where he really can't do anything. The bomb's not going to be his by a long stretch. FM are swarming everywhere they think he could possibly be, and any push he tries to go for should end with one result and one result only, which is going to be his death.
yeah, I mean, that escalated quickly. Hudsg kind of huge with a collateral and picks up a third one straight off the bat as well. And Hudsg with the AWP, he could be a very dangerous prospect when we get on to, for example, Cobblestone, where in the UK Masters we've seen him pretty much lock down the A site, flying solo from there, even with players rushing at him. He's kind of able to deal with 3, 4, 5 players at times. So that is potentially going to be an interesting prospect. And you know, the double AWP setup from Kaz, which looked like he could have been so effective, has now been switched back to FM, who are going for their double AWP. And this is going to be interesting. And I'm not sure I like that so much on CT side, Dust 2. But you know, there's a reason these guys are on the stage, and we're just talking about it, I'm sure. And
I'll probably get proved wrong if HudsG and Neilzinho end up picking all 5 frags up between them with the double AWP, but we shall see. Boaster in the lower, he got the opening pick last time around, but it wasn't fruitful in the end for Kaz, as he's now working towards the lower. To where Neilzinho got in and took out, I believe it was, not sure who he took out. Actually, Robin, I think, was on top of the stairs, and he got taken down, and Boaster wasn't able to pick up the frag. Neilzinho quite wisely dropping away and not committing too much into the tunnels. And from then on, HudsG did the rest over towards the A site, and the rest, as they say, is history. Neilzinho spamming through smoke. Looks like mid to B might be the play. Boaster up on the short as well. And Kaz taking a leaf out of FM's book as they now go for it. Robin takes down HudsG. That smoke is going to try and slow off the rotate. But there's still 2 players in the window, and Neilzinho he faces, which is a little bit risky in itself. And there goes Socken over towards the tunnels. Retake is on 4v2.
Yeah. Windansky going to be finding himself taking it into a 3 versus 2 situation, but now they have to make their way onto the site. They do have a little bit of utility to use, so hopefully that's going to be enough, but at the moment it looks like it's going to be just so difficult. Cinder toying with the idea of going through the window, but Cryptix has it well watched. The flashes coming in, it might just be their chance, but Cryptix still finds one, and Robin's still going to be a threat. Instead, though, it's going to be Boaster finding that last frag and pushing Kaz through to match point, and this, well, looks like it's going to be that map. As you said, FM don't have a whole lot more to work with. They managed to get the AWP out. They managed to get a bit of a buy-in, but it's, again, going to be far from perfect. It's not going to be exactly what they want, and you can see they've spent everything they have. Windansky still only has the Deagle to use, so Kaz really in a position where they could just close this one out right now, take that first map, and push it through to Cobblestone to try and close this one out.
Boast not rest around. He just gone sprinting straight up short. Ends up taking out 1. I'll make that 2. I thought Cinder had him there, but no. It's Boaster who's taken 2 players out. Make that 3. He's going on a tear. He wants to bring this thing home, and in this weighted best of 5, they bring this thing home. Kaz already have a 2-map advantage. Neilzinho gets a nade to the face, but he picks up 2 frags in the meantime, leaving it to HudsG. What can he do? Flying solo against 3 players with the bomb planted. Well, time is already against him, and the AWP probably isn't going to help him try and get up close too quickly. They're just going to throw everything they can at him, try and slow him down. And they've got 3 angles to go from, and we can pretty much call this thing done, I think.
I mean, a nice shot there from him to close it out, but unfortunately it's not going to mean the round win, as he is dealt with fairly quickly, and, well, Kaz managed to pick it up.
Yeah, they sure do. And, Dust2, and I remember back in the days when it used to be sort of weighted best of 3, and Dust2 was the first one that came out. And, that if you've got a team that's been in stellar form, you see those end up rolling through. But luckily, we've got a weighted best of 5 here. So that is just the first map out of the way. With it, it gives Kaz a 2-0 advantage. So if they pick up the next one, then that is going to be game over. And who would have expected it to be over that quickly if that is the case? But we shall see. Another thing to mention is that was FM's choice for this first map. So I don't know if there's a tactical thing going on there. But, Kaz generally just seem to have their number.
Yeah, the next one definitely does have to be worrying for them, especially as you said, as FM picked this map. So if they can't pick this one up, really what's the story going to be like on Cobblestone, and are we going to be able to see Kaz just close this one out straight away? I know me and you both had our concerns about the pick of Dust2 for the first, and I don't know. This one has the potential to either end right here or go the distance, because if we see FM picking up Cobblestone, then Mirage, I feel they have a fairly solid chance on. It's just all about this next map. If they can find this one, then who knows?
Yeah.
But it's going to be tense.
Yeah, the fact that Kaz picked up Mirage doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be all one-way traffic on it, and I think it does favour FM just a little bit more than perhaps Dust2 does with their, just the way that they tend to play. But they're fairly set in the way that they hold their CT, and when you've got the likes of Windansky and HudsG with the AWP and what they can do from there, I mean, in the mid window they can do some damage, or over towards the A, towards the steps, plenty of options and plenty of ways that they can execute on their CT side. And then from T side, well, you do get that mid to mid picking happen a little bit more often, and if they can get the edge there, then it's just going to be a bonus. But the players have gone for a short little break here before we get into the map and potentially the conclusion of UK Masters Season 1.
So we're going to take a short break ourselves as well, and we are going to be back with the action in a couple of minutes' time. So stick with us, and there's going to be more great UKCS action coming up very soon.
Constantly changing, always rearranging, always rearranging, always rearranging. We are who we are, that is constantly changing, always rearranging, always rearranging, always rearranging. Constantly changing, always rearranging, always rearranging, always rearranging. That is constantly changing, always rearranging, always rearranging. Constantly changing, always rearranging, always rearranging, always rearranging. That is constantly changing, always rearranging, always rearranging, always rearranging.
episode of the Monster Cat podcast. Here is my track Real Love, featuring the voice of the talented Danica Nado. Enjoy.
Heaven is a place on earth when I'm with you, babe. I think you know what I deserve, and I want you to say, I'll play the fool you wanted to. Why do you keep spinning my wheels for you? I toss and turn, seem so absurd, but is this real love, baby? Is this real love, real love? Is this real love, real love, real love, real love, I know you want it, and if you let me, I can take you there. Yeah, I know you need it, and I can show you what you're missing, babe. Yeah, I know you're worth it. I still feel you on my skin. Don't leave me yearning. I need you to let me in. Real love, yeah. Oh, you know I'd do anything for you. You got me swimming in the deep for you, and I can't get enough. I'll play the fool you wanted to. Why do you keep spinning my wheels for you? I toss and turn, seem so absurd, but is this real love, baby? Is this real love, real love? Real love, real love.
Thanks for joining us on the Monster Cat podcast.
I know you want it, and if you let me, I can take you there. Yeah, I know you need it, and I can show you what you're missing, babe. Yeah.
When the time comes, be ready. Don't you hesitate. There's nobody left in the world who could ever shake my faith. Holding me back, holding this back, don't you see? You can count on me, put it down on me, 'cause now it's all on me.
Hi guys, and we are back. Welcome to the UK Masters Grand Final, and we are map number 2. Got Kaz and FM, and Kaz, with this weighted best of 5, have a 2-map advantage over FM Esports. Who would have thought it? I mean, FM at times throughout the tournament looked unstoppable. At times Kaz looked unstoppable, but they saved it right until the end when we start getting into these later stages. And what a time to bring some of your best CS at the death on the stage for this grand final, and they're going to be looking to bring this thing home on Cobblestone, which is an interesting prospect.
Yeah, and Cobblestone's actually their pick, so it's definitely a map we could see them finding some success on. Obviously, a lot of it is going to be down to these early rounds and how they're going to be playing out. So this is going to be a big one. First pistol round, and, well, obviously, as with any pistol round, it could go either way, but Boaster already giving Kaz a great chance just by getting that little bit of aggression up towards A-Long, finding them the information they want to be having, and definitely at least prompting his team to the fact that it's potentially going to be more heavily executed towards the B side in this round. FM characteristically taking it a bit slow, but you got to think Kaz have a fair amount of map presence without too much sacrifice.
Yeah, they sure do. Got to be a little careful here, because it's Huds G going for a little walk, and Robin, he's managed to keep himself tight in towards the wall, not exposing himself, and Cryptix is actually the first to face around the fountain. That was nearly perfect, but Robin is only able to get one before he's traded out. Cryptix with a frag as well, taking down Neilzinho, so it's still, slender advantage for Casper. They've got to get on the move now, and we got Socken manages to get one, make that 2. Coming out of drop down, and he's picked up his 3rd as well, leaving Boast the last man standing. They know where he is, they're closing him down. Socken with the 4K. What a way to start for him.
I mean, what a way to get things going indeed. It is exactly how this man, at least, is going to want to be getting things started in this round or in this map. And for the team, something they sort of need in this map. This, obviously, as you said, is sort of last chance saloon for FM. If they don't manage to pick this one up, then it is going to be going Kaz's way just like that with 2 maps played. So personally, I'm hoping we can see them pull something off here, and it's a good start, but 2 out of 2 times so far, we've seen Kaz pull this second round back. Do you think there's a chance we could see it happen again here?
Well, yeah, I don't see why not, because they played it pretty well over towards the B side to begin with, but that drop-down control came in, and that was enough to unstick them. And it's tough now, because they're going to have to sit into the angles and use those about as well as they possibly can, and kind of work the same way that they did last time, just sit in and then try and face from different angles to try and take the attention off the close guy to pick him up. But it's going to be tough, as I say, and Jacob and Boaster, okay, they're stacking towards the 8, and if Neilzinho wants to step, the fire of 3 might be enough to take him down and save him a weapon, but Neilzinho does get one before he's traded out, so they are going to be able to grab a weapon off of him, and that could be helpful for the rotate. Socken now, he's moving to back up his teammates with an AK in hand as they want to make their way over towards the site, but Jack with a nice shot taking down Huds G, leaving Windansky and Socken, and again Kaz are looking to do exactly the same thing. Win the next round after losing the pistol, and you wouldn't put it past them. Robin finds Socken, the 4K hero from the last round, from underneath drop down. They're able to get Windansky as well, so not even a lot of economic damage, and chance to pick up a few weapons, possibly. No, okay, so just the Galil save, but they do it yet again, and FM, you've got to think, how many dropped opportunities have they had here?
I'm just wondering how they're managing to throw away all these anti-ecos. Out of all the rounds in a game, that's the round that you sort of most expect to see someone win. That's the round that every team should have drilled to near perfection. And FM, I'm not sure if it's the nerves or what, but they just seem to be letting them slip time after time. I mean, that makes it 3 in a row that we've seen that happen in. And on a map that FM really can't afford to lose, it gives Kaz a huge advantage right from the offset. You can already see they're going to be better equipped into this round by a long way. They're going to have a chance to build some economy early on, and they have a chance to pull themselves back from that pistol round loss, which should really handicap them, at least for the beginning of the first half.
Yeah, sure does. And Boaster, he takes down Huds G from out towards the mid. Little refreshers for you. The Honchi is Huds G, and Falk, whatever, is Socken for FM. A couple of players going for random names. I'm sorry, my Danish is a little rusty, and I don't fancy unleashing it on stream. But 3 versus 3 it is then. So Kaz, Boaster's down to a very low HP actually, and Cryptix, I think his position might well be known for Neilzinho if he looks in, but oh no, Neilzinho's actually got underneath the window and they get him in the crossfire, and now 45 seconds left to go. The plant is probably going to come in, but Windansky's taken as well, leaving Cinder on the site. He's got an SMG, so if they want to push him close, he might be able to take down these guys. They're all on low HP, and Shaq stands in the fire. Unlucky, bro, but they're going to try and go in, and Cinder, I think he's just going to try and get these 2 frags.
Well, I mean, he's got decisions to make. He can't get the bomb down in the end, and he can't find a frag either. Chak a little bit too quick on the draw there. Stops him in his tracks and puts a second on the board for Kaz. Again, something we saw in the last half. They find themselves that second round. They don't let it slip straight after. They don't let FM get back into it quickly, and they force them into that position of low economy, into that position of playing on the back foot just to chuck some rounds on the board. And you've got to think on Cobble, that's going to be even more impactful than on Dust 2. Purely down to the fact that T-side is where FM is supposed to be getting the majority of their rounds from.
Yeah, same kind of deal on Dust 2. I mean, it wasn't bad, the score they ended up with, but it wasn't brilliant in the grand scheme of things. You would have expected them to at least have won half, and they didn't. And it'll be the same thing here again, even if it ends 9-6, 10-5 to Kaz, then well, for FM, they're staring down the barrel of another fairly disappointing T-side on a map that, considering the amount it's played anyway, they should be feeling fairly comfortable on. As Boaster, he does some damage, he takes a bit himself, and that's a decent little trade, both on about the same as a result. And minute left to go on the clock, so Chak going to try and lock down the drop down, and he does. Cryptix gets 2 frags as well on Cinder, and Neilzinho, Robin able to clean up Huds G, and it is another very solid looking hold over towards this B site.
I mean, solid is definitely the word I'd use, as Windansky's the last man left alive, and he's really going to have no chance whatsoever to find himself anything past maybe 1 frag if he gets extremely lucky, and unfortunately for him, it's not even going to come to that. Shaq shuts him down before he can get anything done, and Kaz progress with a clean round. The first clean round this half, but I assume the first of maybe not many, but at least a few. We've seen these guys do well at building that economy of finding those rounds where they don't lose too much and putting themselves in a really great position, creating that impact. And, well, here's another chance to do it. You got Kaz at 3, FM at 1, but the full buy has come in. We're going to be seeing the first buy versus buy round. And this is sort of make or break. It's not going to be the be-all and end-all. It's not going to be FM sort of losing if they lose here, but it'd definitely be a huge help if they could put something on the board, if they could get something started. It's just going to come down to what they can actually manage to do.
Yeah, for sure. They are full commit into this round. Pretty much nothing left in the coffers for them next time out. And still trying to build up that loss bonus a little bit, if you want to call it that. There's still no real commitment from FM. They don't like to go too quick, these guys, and they are now going for it. Neilzinho takes down Boaster as he steps up and through towards the side. Cryptix, he's looking towards the B and might have some action from Windansky. They're trying to split off a little bit and maybe just pick up some frags and look for a pick that they can work off, but Kaz aren't going to let them have that easy.
I mean, they've already found one. They don't need to be going for any more, but Windansky's going to manage to find it anyway. Takes Cryptix out before Jacob comes back in for Kaz and manages to find one of his own still. It's going to be Kaz at the disadvantage, and Robin, the difference maker, only manages to pick one up before he goes down. And that means that we are going to be seeing slight troubles on the Kaz side, a disadvantage situation, and FM looking like they might be able to find their second round, but Chat going to be straight in onto Cinder, finds himself the first one. And unfortunately, Huds G took a little bit too long to find that frag instead. Actually, it ended up being Socken who took it. But Jacob is still definitely in a position to do a little bit of damage, and he will indeed with the ult. Finds the first, looking to see if he can do more, and he lines it up. But he just can't click fast enough. Extremely unfortunate for him there, but it does mean at least that FM have a little bit more of a chance into this one as we see the economies equalize a little bit. Both teams working with very little indeed, but both teams still going to be going for it. Kaz, they've got another AWP up. They've got an M4 up. They're working with some pistols and a UMP alongside that. FM going to be full AKs, all bar one. I'm interested to see who comes out on top in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be crazy, and you think
You know, maybe if Jacob had a rifle in hand rather than AWP, he would have been able to pick that one up and might have done enough damage to the 33 points of Huds G, but he lives to fight another day. And that opening pick, though, it does go in favour of Kaz. So a chance then to maybe try and recover that weapon a little bit later on. Windansky sprinting backwards, able to pull off a crisp shot just in the round before, which helped soften up the numbers over towards the B site, which is where the plant went in the end. And so some interesting stuff building up, and still minute 10 left to go on the clock. FM seem to be, so here's Chak, he gets one in the drop down, may potentially get a little more action there before the end of this round. And yeah, it surprises me, FM's playstyle. It's, I guess, the slowest playstyle of anyone we've really seen throughout the tournament. And you know, the time when they were running all over August, it was when they were generally stepping it up. They were feeling it, they were flowing. And it seems like that's when they're at their best. This, even though they think it's what suits them, maybe what comes naturally to them, it doesn't always get them the results they want.
I reckon they've been reading a bit too many of Aesop's fables.
Yeah.
They have an idea that maybe if you go extremely slow, you're going to just win by default. You know, Kaz will fall asleep, but right now they seem to be wide awake and still doing a great job of finding themselves damage in the unbelievable rounds. And again, you see another one picked up that maybe shouldn't have been. Pistols on the board in this one, a UMP on the board early on, and they still managed to put a fourth on the board. They still managed to reset the economy of FM and continue on in a great position. It means that FM once more are going to be down to the pistols. They're going to be down to maybe the solitary flashbang in terms of utility, and really just not with a huge chance of getting anything done past a lucky bomb plant. It's not where you want to be. As I was saying earlier, they should be picking their rounds up on T side. It should be where they're going to be able to get the buys in round after round, start something off, keep that momentum moving. But if they can't, then they're going to be finding themselves with a very tricky second half indeed, and Kaz might just run away with this one.
Yeah, and with that last round, they were leaving with 18 seconds left to go on the clock by the time they had to make a move. And this mid-play, well, there's going to be no plant coming in, and probably, oh, actually, fair enough, Hudson does take down Jacob as well, so Robin saves the AWP instantly, so not a lot of economic damage, really. Full buy coming in again from Kaz. They're going to rebuy those two weapons that they did lose. AWP's going to go back to Jacob, and it's going to be 5-2 in favour of FM. Now, for FM, we've seen Huds G, for example, he can lock down the A site on his own with the AWP. And Windansky and Nilzinho, if you put an AWP in their hand, they can do some damage as well, which is a great prospect going forward for CT side, as long as they give themselves enough rounds to be able to get the AWPs up and to be able to dig their heels in. And at the moment, it's not looking likely because, again, they're going faster, which I like. What I don't like is the execution, because they're throwing in all of their utility and the like, and they just got cut down super quick. Nilzinho, he's got to try and get to the bomb, which they've got covered. 42 points of health to his name. He does get one, but he's going to probably get cut down pretty quickly by these guys. So getting him pincered in, and they do. So 6-2 it is. Again, another comfortable one. The AWP gets retained. It's going to help Kaz build their bankroll a little bit more. Jacob's going to get that AWP. He's the only one that can't afford to buy. And yeah, it's another one on the board for him. Just getting closer and closer towards Kaz winning out the half on the arguably tougher side.
Yeah, it is indeed, and realistically, FM are doing the right thing, right? If they can get Kaz in a tricky position economically, if they can put them into that sort of territory where if they lose around, they're not going to be able to buy into the next one, and then they can pick one up, they might be able to get themselves on a bit of a roll, and you can see that that might be able to happen here. The issue is they have to be able to pick one up, and as you said, the tempo's nice to see, it's nice to see that change, but the execution's just sloppy. Every time they run in, they're just mowed down in seconds, and well, they're not going to be picking rounds up that way, and this one's going to be starting much the same. Already, Socken goes down. Boaster finding himself a wonderful headshot to start things off there, and where are the rest of FM going to be going? Apparently nowhere. Nilzinho tries to get a little bit of a move on A long, but he is stopped in his tracks by a Molotov, and eventually burnt to a crisp, so it means that we're going to be seeing a 3 versus 5 situation, and that's just not a position you can really fight from, even on the T side. Cinder does manage to find one, but it's going to be a trade, and that means that we're just going to be continuing to see this numbers game play a huge factor in Kaz's success, because at this point, how are you supposed to make a push work? At the very least, you're going to be left with 1 player versus 2, and at that point, the retake is nearly inevitable.
Yeah.
And at this point, it's not even going to get that far. Already, we see Jacob find 2 frags and just close the round out without letting them get anything more, and that one, not even much economic damage done, so realistically, Kaz, as you said in the last, looking to find themselves the round, or sorry, the half win.
Yeah, they are rolling. Hudgy going for the AK, the rest of them going for Tech 9 armor, so that's kind of put the money a little bit out of kilter, I guess. But, you know, all in all, not too bad. And they just need to try and get some rounds from somewhere, make sure they can, or even if they're not winning half, that they get as much as they can. But Boaster's going huge on the side, gets 3 players down before Windansky ends up picking up the frag, gets himself an AK for his trouble as well. But 4v2, they know where this is coming. Down goes Nilzinho. Windansky last man standing. And the pause does get called for. I can't see this not being a tactical pause the way things are going. They've just got to stop the rot, figure out a new plan, and you know, we're looking at this thing being over. This whole thing could be done in 20 rounds or less of Counter-Strike, which is kind of crazy. And I'm kind of tempted to put you on the spot here, Brod, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to ask that question of, is this because Kaz are playing really well or FM are playing badly, considering they're sitting probably 20 paces away from us.
I don't want to say anything.
No, exactly. But I don't want to take too much away from Kaz because they are on point. But FM, to me, they seem short on ideas. They seem very one-paced. And they go through and win a pistol, and they just can't bring that advantage home. They can't piggyback through, get the next 2 rounds, which is pretty much a given. And then from that point, they're back up against it. So even if they do win some 5v-buys here and there, it's still not enough. There are easy rounds, which they're throwing away, and then they haven't got enough in the tank to be able to challenge Kaz enough to pick up enough rounds to, 1, make up for it, or 2, just get themselves into a winnable position, I don't think. So yeah, and FM have made a couple of switches to try and boost their lineup going forward, and from what we've seen, I don't think it's really working so far.
Yeah, no, they got rid of the young blood, and apparently, well, that might have just been what was giving them the energy to push forward after all. I'm not saying it's the only thing that matters, but obviously it did have a little bit of an impact, because right now they are not the same. They are not the same FM that we saw going up against August even, what, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, not at all. And I mean, we did pick up some a couple of weeks ago for being too pushy on CT side and getting picked off, and you know, it did leave them way up against it far too often. I think that might have been against Kaz actually, but you know, Som is a player that can give you that extra dimension to just go and make a play somewhere. And you know, I mean, Cinder has been around. He's a great player. You know, he's putting some really good results at UK LAN, so can't take too much away from him stepping in as he makes the opening frag there. But you know, Som kind of gave that extra dimension in terms of playability, and maybe that's something that's missing from us. Nilzinho ends up picking up a frag. So this is a little different from FM, and you know, maybe they are looking to prove me wrong. Curse to the commentator again, as they've got full control of this A site, and the retake due to come in now.
And the thing is, they could win every single round at this point. I don't think Kaz are going to be too bothered. They've already done more than what they need to do, and at this point, FM are just sort of on damage control. As nice as it is to see them reinvigorated, as nice to see as it is that maybe we're going to be seeing them sort of step it up into the next half, it's damage control. They're not even doing such a great job of that. Robin and Shaq managed to find themselves a lot of damage. Cryptix does get tagged down almost immediately, but there is still that threat on the board. Shaq was still alive. He could have done some more damage. He doesn't manage to in the end, but it's still not a clean round. It's still not a great round, and FM are still going to be finding themselves in a tricky position once again. You can see their economy just isn't in a position where it can really sustain that sort of abuse. And so we see the Galils coming out, we see the pistols coming out, and we see Kaz still fully able to buy up with the M4s, the AWPs, the kits, the smokes, the flashes, the mollies, everything they could possibly want. And if they reset FM here, then, well, I'm not going to say it's game over, but it's definitely going to be painful.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking that reset. This has got reset written all over it, looking at that buy, and they've got to go and retrieve the bombs so they can get the plant down, get the $800. They need it now, as it's up against them 4 versus 2, and straight away 4v1. Windansky last man, he still hasn't got the bomb in his hand, let alone getting that thing planted and down. So he's going to have to make a move for that, but he's got 3 players looking in his direction. Got AWP in the hands of Jacob, and there are not too many angles where he can try and work from. Not sure whether Kaz know exactly where his position is, but you know, Windansky, he's on the T side. He's got to be the aggressor. He's got to make a move here, and he does. And Kaz end up picking that thing up. They reset the money. Cinder and Sokino somehow got the money to buy AK armor, and they are going for it. I mean, this is the trouble. They know they're in trouble, so they're forcing up. But if they don't pick this one up, they're done. They are completely done, aren't they?
At least in this half.
Yeah.
At least in this half. They're going to be in huge trouble. And honestly, when you look at what they've got, it's definitely a buy that you can make something work with, but it's far from a perfect buy, as they are just going to be running with a couple of Tech 9s, a Galil, and yeah, 2 AKs to try and get something done. It's going to be a fast move towards A. So again, something we haven't seen a huge amount of, something that maybe might work for them as we have seen it in the past, but at the moment, it's not going to be going too well. Neilzinho does manage to find himself 2 though, so maybe he's going to be trying to prove me wrong. And Kaz, they're a little bit slow to respond on this one. You can see there, Cryptix is just a little bit tentative about pushing out, and it is going to give them that chance they want towards the A side. So it's Cryptix and Chak left in a 2 versus 4 on the retake at this point. Doesn't look like it's going to be so likely, so maybe the buy was exactly what they needed, especially as Neilzinho picks up Chak. This could be FM's chance. It looked dangerous, it looked awful. But if they pulled it off, then it is something special, and it might just be the second wind that takes them through to a position where they can at least play into the second half.
Yeah, for sure. It's another one of those similar situations, potentially, if it goes through 9-6 in favour of Kaz. So Kaz, stealing the half win away from a side who arguably should be posting the stronger side and winning the thing through. But by no means is it unassailable, especially if FM can put that pistol together, get the next 2 rounds afterwards, which they deserve, and haven't been able to, and win a buy versus buy. Suddenly, they're straight back in this thing. They've got a slender advantage, and then they've got to keep building from it. They know that Kaz on the T side will be able to keep on buying a little better than they can, so FM can't afford to slip up. They've pretty much got to be solid throughout on their CT side. And this is talking after they win the pistol, the next 2, and the buy versus buy, which we haven't seen a whole lot of their ability to do that as yet. But there's still plenty of life potentially left in this grand final as we see FM looking back towards the B side.
No, that definitely is, and with only 2 players there to stop them as well, it shouldn't be too difficult an execute to manage to pull off. There is definitely a little bit of chance here, and as the smoke clears, we're going to be seeing them pushing their way in. Cinder and Socken taking the lead on that charge and just edging ever closer as all the utility gets spent out, but Kaz have put the delay on. They've managed to get a Molotov down. They've managed to stop them in their tracks for just a second, and that's going to facilitate the rotate coming in and giving a little bit more support to the site. Cryptix as well, going to be finding himself Socken to start things off, and that's FM again at the disadvantage. They're going to be continuing the push, seeing what they can get done, and Neilzinho does manage to find himself 1, but Chak responds right back. Hudge unable to do anything with the orb, and just like that, it is going to be a painful situation indeed, as Cinder finds himself in a 1 versus 4 and can't even pick up a single frag out of them. And that means that it's 10-4 to Kaz at the moment. 1 round left in the half, and the best FM can hope to do is a 5-10 scoreline, which realistically, Mark, just isn't good enough on Cobblestone.
No, it's not, and Kaz are 1 pistol away from pretty much bringing this thing home. And just a highlight on the scoreboard for Kaz. The kills, 14, 13, 11, 11, 10. This is a team effort on the CT hold, and that is exactly the way it has to be. Everyone has to be on point so you can lock down every single possible angle. And if someone isn't, and most of the team is, if there's a weak point, well, it's going to get exploited every round, and there are none. As we see a trade, Boaster gets 1 before Neilzinho, or gets a frag on Neilzinho, sorry. As Cryptix is able to pick up Windansky as well, and Cinder nails his teammate in the back of the head before he picks up the 1. Robin round about the rock gets 1 as well, so that's a decent little trade, 2v2. And these guys are getting on their bike over towards the site, ready to defend it.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's looking like it's going to have to be a retake, but it's going to be far from perfect, as Jacob is already pushing an angle that is being watched. Hudge there with the M4, doing a great job of making sure they can't get anything done. It's going to be Boaster left as the last alive. He has a bit of utility to use, and it might just be enough to make it work, but he has to push his way out first. The smoke clears at just the wrong time, and Cinder is in with a great chance at finding himself 1, but instead it's going to be Boaster coming out on top, looking to see what more damage he can do, but there's nothing. There is nothing in the end, and FM do at least manage to secure their 5th round. It's not much, but it's something they can play from this point. If they can find pistol, and if crucially, Mark, they can find those conversions for the first time, then we could still see them be a presence. If not, then I hate to say it, but for me, it looks like Kaz might just come out on top.
Well, at the moment, I can't see it going any other way. But if it does, they've got to be thinking out this in the bag.
I always have hope. I always want to hope for the underdog a little bit because seeing more maps out of these two teams would be wonderful. But as you said, not looking pretty for Kaz right now. Not looking pretty for FM right now as Kaz start their T side off. If they can win this pistol round, then it is as good as over in my eyes. And, well, at least we're going to be seeing FM put up a little bit of a fight as Hudge G finds himself the first. But obviously, when you're thinking about Kaz, pistol round isn't the most important thing in this series, it would seem.
No, clearly not. It's a bit of an odd, splitty type pushy thing that they're working for. I'm not sure this one is straight out the training ground as such, but doesn't know with one frag before Nilzinho picks up Jacob with a very impressive little shot just to finish that thing off. So, FM, they've won another pistol. But can Kaz do something with it? Well, you wouldn't put it past them, and this is a little interesting with what they're going for.
I mean, at this point, you wouldn't, would you? It's been so wonderful for Kaz to do it, and especially on Cobble with the B site as exposed as it is. If they can get the Tech 9s in there, I don't see anything really stopping them from doing that damage. They've been crisp on it so far. Why would that change now? But instead, they're going to be going for something a little bit different. They're sending 2 men towards A with the bomb playing fairly passive, so actually taking a little bit of a page out of FM's book and taking this one slow. They're going to be running that clock down and probing a little bit before anything's decided. It's going to be Robin in drop to make the initial bit of noise. Cinder, though, going to be clearing him up before he can get anything done, so maybe FM are in with a chance of finding themselves a second round after all.
Yeah, and maybe this is going to be fairly impressive. I think we need a little cheer for FM if they manage to convert a pistol. But no, let's not do that.
That's patronising.
It is a bit, yeah, I know. And I'm kind of in the same boat in terms of this thing continuing. I would love to see this go on a bit longer just so we can see FM really show their full potential because we haven't seen it so far. And, you know, the amount of times I've said it, if FM turn up at the best that we've seen them throughout this competition, you know, they could beat pretty much anyone. But this is not going to help as Chak and Boaster with 2 end up cutting these players down, and it looks like it's going to be another conversion dropped unless Windansky can go huge. Boaster, that's so unlucky. 9 HP. That nade out the window isn't quite on point. It only takes 2 more points of health off him. It's practically nothing, the difference that he's made there. He's just blown on the guy, and he's like, oh, what are you doing that for? And dropped away. So they know where Windansky is. They can try and hunt him down if they want. It might be tempting for the low HP guys to go for it and try and just take him out. And they do take him out in the end. And I guess Windansky, a couple of frags with that, it would have been a bankroll builder, 200% kill bonus. But you know, the most important thing is that Kaz are now back in the ascendancy. FM failed to convert another pistol round. And we've got 11-8 in favour of Kaz Esports on the arguably easier T side. And they are playing for this competition. This could be the first prize brought home within the space of 5 more Kaz rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you could see it on your screens there if you're watching the stream at home. FM do not look happy about that one. That's 4 times in a row we've seen that happen. And honestly, I think anybody would be a little bit miffed after that. And this round is not going to be starting off perfectly either. We already saw Hudge G go down, but now Socken is going to be following him. So it's going to be a 3 versus 5 from the start. Cinder manages to get something done, but again, how much hope can you have at this point? From what we've seen in the previous halves, from what we've seen on the previous map, are they going to be able to find themselves some sort of recovery? It's looking more and more doubtful, and Cinder's going to be dropped as well. Cryptic's a little bit too fast with the Famash, just make sure he can't do anything. And Kaz using recycled weapons, take the A site, clear it out entirely, and make sure FM can't get anything done. Nilzinho, though, going to be coming in, going to be finding himself 1. Takes the AK as well, and that could be crucial. Windansky with the Deagle also going to be on the push. And at the very least, you're going to be expecting to see them find maybe a frag between them here. At the very most, maybe they can try and reclaim that site. There's no kit, so if they want to, they're going to have to act fast. And Nilzinho is trying to get it started off, and he manages as well.
He sure does, but they haven't got a lot of time. They've got to go for this, and Kaz is going to be sitting in and buying as much of that time as they can. Jacob gets one of the 2 frags that he needs, and Boaster just pops up over the wall. Bit of peekaboo, takes down Nilzinho. Probably didn't have time to get the defuse anyway, and we are on to a pause.
Sorry, that play made me quite happy. Boaster's little ducking play.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's perfect. Well, you can kind of see with the X-ray the beauty that you have from the spectator point of view, how some of these things start to unfold, and you see Neil running around behind the wall as Boaster ducks, and it's perfect, and it works out. But, you know, to be fair, they played the time game really well. Jacob picking up one of those 2 frags that they needed. They'd probably done enough to make sure that that bomb's going to go off regardless, and it is Kaz in a very commanding position. And you know, FM back onto the pistols. We've seen Kaz had the advantage of winning through pistols against weapons, upgraded weapons. I don't think, from what we've seen, FM really have that in them, but maybe this is the time to turn it around. And what a comeback it would be from this position if we end up seeing a 3rd map tonight.
Oh dear, yeah. I'd love to agree with you, and it would definitely be something absolutely special, but whether or not that's going to be happening is a completely different story. I hate to say it, but as much hope as I try and have, as much as I try and keep my spirits up and sort of root for the underdog, because obviously we all enjoy that side of things. In this situation, FM, I think, are just sort of a little bit out of it. And to me, it's that round after the pistol round, 4 times in a row that Kaz managed to do it. At that point, you know something horrible is going wrong with FM. I'm not trying to take anything away from Kaz. It's the question you asked earlier. You know, is it Kaz playing extremely well? Is it FM sort of slumping a bit? I think potentially a bit of both. I'm not gonna take anything away from Kaz. I think they're a wonderful team, but at the same time, if you drop 4 conversions after pistol round, back to back, something is not right.
No, for sure. You can forgive 1, but
Yeah.
4, no, that's...
I mean, unless you're playing against Envious, like old school Envious, then
Yeah.
maybe it's acceptable. In this situation, not so much.
No, it's one of those things. It's kind of the given, isn't it? It's always the given that you win the pistol, you're gonna probably get the next couple of rounds through. That's been the way for as long as I can remember. I was talking about this 9-10 years ago when I first started out with commentary, and the situation hasn't changed a whole lot. You got SMGs against the pistols. You know, you're either going to get a team that's going to try and charge you full on with an eco, at which point you've got weapons to spray them down even if there's 2 of you, or you're going to be going en masse with SMGs, low recoil, 30 bullets in the clip there or thereabouts, probably some armor, charging in against 2 players with pistols. I mean, just talking about it, there's no way that you shouldn't be winning that situation all that often. I mean, it's not even a coin flip, is it? You would expect to win 7, 8 of those out of 10?
I'd say at least, yeah. That's sort of the most painful thing about it for me, is the fact that, as you said, you might expect to see it once. If it happens, it should be a shock. If it happens, it should be sort of a wonderful moment where maybe a team that's on the brink of defeat comes back, takes it, finds themselves in a great position. It's not something you should be able to pull off consistently, and when you can, that's it shows certain flaws. Hopefully, though, once FM gets some guns in their hands, we can see them take this on. We can see them go full force and actually manage to put some rounds on the board, because even if they end up losing this series, you want to see them get more than 6. You want to potentially even see them break those double figures, just for pride's sake. And it's definitely possible. But right now, we're going to be back into the game, and it is going to be Kaz on what is nearly a full buy versus just the P250s and a single smoke from FM.
Yeah, it sure is. And FM, with their scrubby money situation right now, might have to resort to a bit of Swag 7 magic to bring this thing home. Just a suggestion, guys. Feel free to use that if you want. And I'm going to owe so many apologies to Kaz if FM end up buying a Swag 7 and go crazy with it, but we shall see just how that pans out. And we've got Socken with a frag. Shaq trades straight back, takes down Socken, and Shaq's got his second as well. He's got Boaster there for backup, so Cinder, he's tempted. That Molotov is going to flush him somewhere. Where is he going to go? Well, they're trying to take control of this A ramp, but that's going to completely open things up for a rotate towards the B, or Kaz, with their 4-3 advantage, might decide that they want to barrel this thing hard and fast up into A after all, and just taking the chance to take a little breather and decide what they want to do. And with the utility flying in, it seems like they have chosen to go for B. And players getting hammered down. Cinder comes in from behind. He had a golden opportunity, did some damage, but they spin. And look at the HP, 21, 23, 58, and 11. They had a player coming in from behind, that was Cinder, and they keep all of their players alive, win the 4v3, don't even need the plant to bring that round home. And, well, Eco Bash well handled.
I was going to say, Cinder should have been their downfall there. He was in a position where you expect at least 2 frags, maybe even 3.
Yep.
And then his teammates help him mop up the rest, something that we would expect to see Kaz do in that position. FM, unfortunately, don't manage to do it, and it does mean that we're going to be seeing another gun round, but Kaz find themselves 13-6, and at this point, FM really have to pull everything out. If they don't win this one here, they're going to be in not such a great place, and they are going to be having round loss bonus piled on top of them as they lose more and more rounds. Still, what they can do with that is going to be a different thing, and on CT side especially, getting that set economy, getting a decent economy set up is going to be taking them quite some time. So at this point, it's sort of do or die. Start winning rounds or lose this game quickly, and unfortunately, it doesn't look like the rounds are going to be coming their way because Kaz, they find that early pick and they know exactly what to do afterwards. You don't go aggressive, you don't do anything stupid, you just sit back, slow it down, take it somewhere else, make FM sweat, and then move on from there.
Yeah, and from coaching reports, I would not want to be challenging HudsG solo with the AWP, and they've just made sure that that's not going to happen. Look at Boaster, the position he's got himself in. He could potentially be coming in from behind, taking 3 players out. He finds one, and it's now just HudsG with the AWP, which is super expensive at this time when they're pretty much fighting for their tournament life. He goes for the AK. He's got practically nothing left in the bank, and he's not going to be able to rebuy that even with lost bonus, I don't think. They know where he is, the bomb's ticking away, he's not got the time, and there's no way he can escape with that AWP in hand unless he kills all 3. And he doesn't. Jacob picks him up, 14-6, and let's have a look at the finances for FM. They can't buy. They're going to have to fight for overtime or force, and if they don't pick it up, it's goodbye UK Masters Season 1.
Well, I mean, you can see which they've gone for, Mark. It is going to be a force. We are going to be seeing the Swag 7 magic, I think, as you put it, coming into effect on Socken, and potentially that's going to be something for us to look forward to, especially as he's set up on long, and Kaz are actually going to be putting aggression that way. So far from being a bit of a joke, this might actually work out well if he can catch somebody off close. And it looks like he just might manages to spot the man out, but doesn't manage to find him with the Mag 7 2 shots. One of them connects, the second doesn't. It means it's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. And Kaz still looks set to do at least a little bit of damage in this round. You can already see they're setting themselves up. They're close to that site. And they are hungry to close this one out right now.
Yeah, and 4-3 is looking likely. But, yeah, I guess it's still a winnable situation as well. And that's kind of like 3-3. In fact, if you look at the HP chat, and Robin only need 1 shot or a well-placed nade to take both of them out of it. And Kaz are deciding to slow things up. But you look Cryptics, we've got the beauty of X-Ray, and you can see that there's not a whole lot of resistance for him if he wanted to push that route that he was working along. But instead, he's changing up his angle and giving us something different to look at. And there's still plenty of time, still 40 seconds left for Kaz to try and work with. And you're kind of seeing this quite a lot from FM on their T side to run the clock down this far. But from the way that Kaz have played this, they've put themselves in a decent position to try and work. And Windansky, so he gets one. Back to a 3v3 it is then. And Jack and Robin are the 2 low HP players, 20 seconds on the clock. And they've now got to start working fast. They can see where the potential frag's coming from. Cryptics gets one. But they've still got 2 players to find. And then there's only 2 of them left. Cryptics does actually dig out 1. So they do now have the time to cross to the site. The rotate's coming in from Neilzinho. What is he going to be able to do? Well, he's going to pick up 1 frag before the plant goes in. And Robin, he is in a position where you can pretty much blow it in, but he picks up the frag anyway. He does not care. He's just going to face, and pretty much at match point, he takes the decision, do I take the risk or do I try and play for time? He takes the risk, he takes the shot, his AK control is on point. Who would have expected anything different? And FM are 1 round away from being done. This is crazy.
I mean, that's one of those moments that you're either the hero of the team or you have just ruined everything. And fortunately for Robin, he does manage to pull it off. He does manage to make it work. And he also manages to force FM into a buy they don't really want to be playing with. I mean, they've got the M4s, yes. They've got FAMASs, yes. But Neilzinho is going to be on the CZ. The utility is extremely low, and there's only 1 kit. So despite having sort of a semblance of being well put together, it's actually quite a hollow buy, and it's going to be leaving them with a lot of gaps in their defense that, honestly, from what we've seen so far tonight, you're just expecting Kaz to pick at.
Yeah, for sure, and they are looking towards it. And Yeah, even if they are running down time, there's some purpose to what they're doing. They're trying to work in the drop down, trying to get themselves a pick somewhere. See, Boast and Cryptics both down to half HP from their early skirmishes, and there's Cinder going down, but they're not committing too quickly just yet. They're trying to do what they can still. Robin did get drop down control, and there's a second player in there, but Windansky, he's digging his heels in. He doesn't want to go home just yet. It's a long flight back to Ireland when you're getting trounced 3-0 in the final, and he's going to try and keep this thing alive just that little bit longer. Hudgy makes his way over towards the A just to make sure that the rotate doesn't come in. It's something that Kaz have been using as part of their MO, is to get a pick and then rotate off, go to the other side. Windansky, 4K for him. So, yeah, he's making a bit of a stand, 15-7, but it is still tournament point for Kaz.
And it is going to continue to be tournament point for, what, the next 8 rounds?
Yeah.
So, FM, despite good showing, do sort of still have a very long road ahead of them indeed. And any chance Kaz can have, they are just going to be trying to either push it through or do damage, because realistically, if they can even take FM's economy down to the point where they can't afford nades, if they can just make them that little bit weaker, then there's a good chance we can still see them manage to push themselves ahead and close this one out, and they've got the time to do it in as well. This round, though, we're going to be seeing them heading towards A, something a little bit less likely on Cobble, but something they have been doing a lot. Unfortunately for them, Sokken's going to be starting things off for FM towards those 8 rounds they need to win, and really just trying to keep FM in this one. And I mean, if you're going to do anything to do it, probably finding a pick early on is one of the best ways to slow Kaz down. You can already see they've basically given up on their push, at least with the speed they had behind it, and they're a little bit less confident, they're a little bit less cocky, there's a little bit less room for them to work within. And Sokken took advantage of that for some time. He manages to find himself 2 for the trade of his own life, and that is going to be more than valuable now, though. It's all about what the rest of FM can do on this A side. They've got 2 players there. They need to hold their own at this point. There needs to be at least 2 frags before the site gets taken, but Robin and Boaster are just going to be coming in and slaughtering everybody there, and that means that Kaz now have the advantage. And the bomb site both in their hands. Windansky tries to jump through, but he's not going to be making it. It means that Neilzinho is now the last man left with a FAMAS in his hands. He drops the flash, he jumps out, he catches a couple of players off, but he can't make it work. And Robin finds himself the final frag for Kaz to take Series 1 of the UK Masters.
Yeah, they sure do. And what a season it's been. We'll take a short couple of minutes just to reflect on today's action and the tournament as a whole, and then that is going to be it from us and for the UK Masters Season 1. But you can catch both of us, plus Harry, who's going to be jumping in tomorrow for the main action here for the CSGO tournament for the I-58 competition as well from tomorrow morning. So hopefully you've enjoyed the action tonight and you can join us for that as well. But a sign from Kaz, pure dominance from start to finish there. And both of these teams have shown that they can come out and smash through teams of similar stature. And it was Kaz this time that just never looked like anything was going to... Well, yeah, it just looked unstoppable at certain points, the way they were playing. Bit of a combination of Kaz playing really well, FM never really showing us what they've got. We never really got the full potential of FM at any point tonight, I don't think.
No, we saw it in the playoffs, but definitely not here. It was a little bit unfortunate. Anyway, I think that is all from me and you tonight, Marcus. We will be handing over to the hosts to close this one out. Obviously, you can see both of these teams participating in the BYOC from this point forwards. And thank you all for watching Season 1 of the UK Masters. It has been nothing but a pleasure, and I'm sure all of the teams would say the same.
Yeah, exactly right. So that is it from us, and we will catch you again tomorrow.
Some amazing matches here, but FM Esports, too bad. So please give it up for FM Esports.
Yeah, right. They tried their best, but unfortunately they didn't come out on top. They did make it to the finals, but so still, thanks a lot for joining us here on this stage. And now we want to introduce you to our winners. So please give it up for Kaz Esports, who took that in a 3-2-0 manner in the finals. Of course, want to have a quick chat with them as well. So guys, there you go. Did you expect this outcome at all?
If I'm honest, I did expect that we were going to win. I just didn't think it was going to be quite as easy as it was.
All right, shots fired. That's okay. Okay, well, if you're looking at your opponents, FM, they had some recent roster changes. Did you manage to kind of prepare for a, let's say, different team there, or did you just play your game and like thought that's going to work out anyway?
Yeah, no, we didn't change anything up. Their previous roster was probably, they pracked a lot more. So when they moved them out, we knew they didn't really have much to play with. So for us, it was just play our A game, basically.
Okay, so if you have to analyze your opponents, anything you felt like really stood out, like in a good or in a bad way?
From them, to be honest, I think we just played it well as a team. It was a team effort, and we were just a better team on the day, to be honest.
How did you enjoy the tournament in general? Did you have fun as well?
Yeah, it was good. It's the first of its kind, so hopefully they'll be in at season 2. But I enjoyed it the whole way through, yeah.
All right, well, we enjoyed watching you guys. So once more, of course, congratulations to CAS Esports, guys. Take your check and, of course, also your trophy. You can get your hands on it and celebrate yourself, as is well-deserved. We certainly enjoyed watching you guys play here on this stage, and of course all the way through the qualifiers as well as the playoffs. You guys showed us some amazing Counter-Strike Go. So that is for you guys, our champions of the UK Masters, CAS Esports. And with that, we're actually summing up the action for today here on stage. But tomorrow, of course, we have way more for you out there. So make sure to tune in again at 12 a.m. where we... 12 a.m. Is it a.m. or p.m.? I'm not sure. Just midday. Let's go with midday, all right? So tune in at 12. We have your favorite Twitch faces here on stage playing Overwatch, Overcooked, and much more. We're going to get really creative here as well. So make sure to tune in. And of course, once more, if you have anything to say to us, please make sure to use the hashtag Insomnia58.
Yes. So it was amazing today. Hope to see you guys tomorrow, and have a great evening.
Bye.